Hello, everybody. Welcome to the BRAWL 2025 special of the World of Brickfilms Podcast. I am your host, William of OW Studios. Joining with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Sean Willis of City Penta.
Hello again.
And we've got multiple guests who have not been on the podcast before. I think this is probably the first time in quite a while where we've got we've often have new guests on the specials, but for all of the guests to be brand new to the podcast is actually quite. I don't think we've had that for quite a while. But yeah, we've got some amazing brick filmers who I've been it's been a long time coming to have them on. But yeah, so starting off, we have got Adventures Ensue, who came fourth place with Cobalt. We have Jacob Shrimpton, who came second with Quiet Extinction. And we also have, last but not least, Nerdnaut, who came first place with Who is Tying People to Train Tracks. Hello, guys.
Hey. Hello.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And of course, Stanley Kubrick came third in BRAWL, and he's not inclined to do a podcast like this. If ever he changes his mind and lets us know, then obviously we'll have a lot to catch up on on a podcast. But not this time.
Yeah.
And of course, Adventures Ensue previously came first in BRAWL 2016. That's going back a while by now.
Yeah, 9 years ago.
I forgot. I think when you guys when you guys were going through all the years of BRAWL, I was like, oh right, I forgot 2016. I was a part of that. I was like, oh my god, it was quite surreal seeing that again. I don't often go back too much to previous things I've done, but I was like, oh wow, it was a nice blast from the past. So
yeah, and it was funny. William did a voice in that one, and he was pretty much brand new to the community as well.
Yeah, I remember for me when when that came first, I felt like it was, to me, I kind of made a big deal out of it because I was like, oh, no way, I got to voice act in a film that came first place in BRAWL, no way. And it's quite funny. I think that was probably one of the first times I voice acted for somebody else as well. But yeah, no, it's kind of surreal to think that was 9 years ago now. But yeah. But no,
it doesn't feel like it, yeah.
no.
But yeah, actually, you kind of for a while, because obviously you were obviously brick filming quite a bit in that sort of time period, and then yeah, I guess you've sort of been quite consistent, entering in contests and stuff since then. So yeah, it's quite funny because quite often we'll have a lot of guests, especially if they haven't been on before. They're kind of relatively maybe they've sort of started since we did the podcast, but obviously you've been there from the beginning, really. So
yeah, it's nice to have people who are still entering BRAWL after a good few years. And yeah, it's always nice to see people who've previously been first entering again, and still top 5 and everything.
I always feel like it's timing too. I always want to enter as either BRAWL or THAC, or even a summer contest. It's always time, especially when you get older, because then you start to get a job, and then you're you're moving on in your life and stuff, and you're moving around and stuff, and then you want to set aside time because it takes a long time it takes a little bit just to do animations in general. So it's always, and then usually the timing, I forgot there was maybe 1 year where I couldn't enter because it conflicted with something I had to do, and I was like, dang, I wish I could enter. But it was cool seeing I was cool seeing everybody else's entries that year.
Yeah, it does get hard, especially BRAWL gets hard. At least TAC is on the weekend, and it's easier to make sure that time's free. Even though TAC does kind of take you out of things for a few days afterwards.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you prepare a good couple of days before and after to not do anything with Thak.
Possible.
I mean, it's funny though because I think that like BRAWL, depending on like how ambitious you get, it can sometimes be more strenuous than doing a Thak because you're just like, but there's a potential of just like, doing like multiple, sort of Thaks in terms of work, So we've definitely seen in more recent years, like the kind of scale to which people make stuff is just like insane. I mean, we've got, we'll talk about Quiet Extinction like later on, but like that a very ambitious like nearly 10-minute long film that like I couldn't imagine like the process of making that.
It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous, and it's the longest one in the playlist for this year. I think it was. Just spent so much time during the week, long hours each day.
I certainly want to know. Are there any tips or tricks that you're using to get that done?
Not. I have no idea because procrastination's a massive thing, especially for brick filmers. But there's something about BRAWL, especially being my first one, that there's just like this unbelievable drive where like there was very, very little time spent not working on it. So every waking minute for the whole week was just spent on BRAWL, which is ridiculous. So over 100 hours I spent working on it over the week. So,
because I mean, I know I was watching that and I was thinking, man, I barely got a 2-minute film done. Like it was my goal this year to not end up staying up overnight on the last night, but then of course I did anyway. I did have to get even an unfinished film in a watchable state.
Which I feel like's normal for people that have done BRAWL often, like to have the final stretch, just trying to cram as much in.
It's really funny though as well because like I think I mentioned this briefly in the results stream, but like I honestly kind of feel like if your whole film was just that opening sequence before the titles, like I would genuinely think this would probably place quite highly. This could possibly place in the top 10, And I was watching it, I was like, that was a really good film. And then I was like, oh wait, no, this is the start of this like whole thing. I was like, no way, like I wasn't expecting that.
Which is even funnier because if you're watching it in the playlist in the order, you're not clicking on the video and the thumbnail necessarily, so you're not paying attention to the runtime. So I could see how that might have tripped you up.
The same thing happened to me. I watched it and went, oh, that was a really good little film. Oh, there's 7 more minutes.
Yeah, but I know that when yours finished, so a couple of us were watching it as a group call, and we all said, "Well, that didn't feel like 9 minutes." That felt like it went by way faster. Sometimes there's films that are shorter that feel longer than that one felt. So, and that's like definitely I think the highest compliment you can give to a 9-minute brick film.
Thanks. It means a lot because I spent a lot of time on the pacing, and it's so hard when you're tunnel vision working on your project to like have a fresh perspective on it. So it makes me very happy to hear that. It's only really 5 minutes worth of animation. Like when I went back through to do my behind the scenes video, if you strung all the animation that I took, it's only 5 minutes worth. So the rest of it's either hold frames or looped frames or extra stuff that was used as visual effects. So that also added to the runtime as well.
I think at that point,
I think we've said it before that like when you're watching over 100 films in a playlist and you see one come up and it's 8 or 9 minutes, we all say, oh god, this better be good. But then when it finished, we're like, wow, that was really good. Great.
I gotta ask. Oh, sorry.
No, you go. Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No, I have to ask because I saw the runtime. I was like, oh man, 9 minutes. So I'm like trying to do like math in my head, and ultimately the question I had was, did you kind of just write it right away, and then like it was just like day one was you got the idea, you wrote the script, you're like, all right, I just got to start and just do voice acting, and then I can just go right into animating.
So day one was mainly set building for me. So I had not the whole script done, but I had like the idea going into BRAWL along with a bunch of other ideas. because I just write them throughout the year. And yeah, when the theme came up, I was like, oh, what idea could I use as like a jumping point? And yeah, with control, I thought, yeah, control tests and stuff. So I wanted something sciencey. So yeah, tweaked the script a lot to make it fit the theme, and then yeah, jumped right into it on day one. So yeah.
Wow.
Right, that's clever, because I do know for me it does take me a while to come up with an idea, and I kind of want to know. I wanted to know where it was going to go at the end as well, because I wanted to set things up at the start. So that was a bit of a roadblock for me at the start of the contest. So that's definitely clever to make use of a script that you've been working on. And
yeah.
How much of the sets were built during the BRAWL time?
None of them. So
okay.
The only things that were pre-built were the windmill that's in the opening scene and some of the stuff in the hallway, like the art that's on the walls. Everything else I built within the time constraints with the contest.
You did build them in the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Good.
Yeah, and I wanted to do that because if I had pre-built sets, it would have stitched me up, because then I would have been locked into doing an idea for BRAWL. I wanted to be open to whatever idea was going to be best, for the theme. So,
yeah. At first I thought you were saying like, oh yeah, I built everything before, and I was like, I wasn't going to say anything of like, oh, because that would absolutely be fine, but it's just a case of like it, like the fact that you did do it all is like way more impressive than that.
I was thinking, oh yeah, it would make perfect sense if it was all pre-built, but it's even more impressive that it wasn't pre-built. But I remember you did a TAC entry at the start of this year, and that was in the top 10. And when that came up in the playlist, and like I was thinking, wow, this looks incredible. Like the sets are really good. Who made this? And then I see on the YouTube video it says like 70,000 subscribers, and I'm like, what? Who is this guy? I've never heard of him before.
Yeah, I guess we should address that as well. I make, if you've seen my channel, I make a lot of recreation videos, and it's just a shame that the community is that way, because so many people that are active in the Bricks in Motion Discord and in the community, they don't have many views because they make original content, which is great because I love watching original brick films, but they just don't get views that they used to. Like the old YouTube, it used to promote that sort of stuff and encourage people to make original stuff. So to have the contest like THAC and BRAWL, which is continuing getting people to make original stuff, which I think is great.
I was gonna say I agree with that, because I feel like there's been a decline over the past couple of years. Because even like when I was watching, like even going back to look at the views of my older videos that were like original, I was like, oh yeah, there's like a steadily decline. And then I was looking at other people's other brick filmmakers that I admire. I was like, oh yeah, theirs is even like kind of declining a little bit. Like even people like Mind Game Studios or like Tesh and Nate, you can kind of see there's a little bit. There was like a high point, and then which is kind of curious because but then you see like recreation videos, or if you do of an existing IP, and it's like, okay, there's a little bit more of a boost there, which is kind of weird and also funny because it kind of reflects a little bit of the filmmaking world today, where like there was a lot of original ideas back then, and then like over the years if you get an IP or an existing IP, then it's like you're more or less guaranteed to make a return or get people in the seats.
Well, I think actually you and me probably share quite a lot in the fact that we both sort of started sort of brick filming in the kind of early to mid 2010s, and at that point in time, people were already talking about the decline of the like animation on YouTube and brick filming. Like it was a years old thing at that point, and I remember at that point being like, there was a certain amount of views that like in our eyes starting off at a YouTube channel that was like doing stuff in like 2014 2015, like getting like a few hundred views felt like, well, that's like kind of good for us kind of thing, and now it's really weird because like I look back at those times and think, oh, I used to have so much more views then when I had 500 views per video, and now it's like, no, I only get 200 views per video. And it's a weird thing of like like the standards that we had like 10 years ago were not like high, we didn't and now it's like it's weird. It's weird having like even the small amount of views that I would have got back then being kind of like significantly smaller than, it essentially being like getting less now than I would then.
And we do have a lot of thoughts and observations about this topic. And you know, we always try to on Bricks and Motion. We always try to encourage people to not care so much about views on an individual level. Like, we don't want people to be like desperately trying to chase views, but at the same time, we also think it's bad that original Brick films can't get the views that they used to, because without the wide influence, it's not going to encourage other people to make original Brick films. So it's this like distinction that we have, where it's like, on the one hand, we say you shouldn't care about views, but on the other hand, we'd also like if original Brick films got more views, so that it would have a good influence on the landscape of Brick filming. Yeah, like the one that we often point to is Stranger Than Fiction by Mind Game. Stranger Than Fiction came out in 2010 and it has 1 million views, and it's not no IP or anything. And I don't know if you could really point to like a switch over, but I think after like 2011 or 2012, things were just different. If you uploaded a high quality original Brick film like 2010, 2011, you could still get 500,000, 1 million views. And like something that everyone had seen and everyone's influenced by, like Stranger Than Fiction. That would be a positive thing for the wider Brick film scene, I think.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah.
I do agree, though. I think it is great that we still have contests like BRAWL and THAC, and even a summer contest that kind of, at least there's like a good collective of people coming back and be like, okay, we can look at like original Brick films and see like what was like, then even within those, which is really, I think what's really fascinating now is that while there's might be a decline in viewership, I think the creativity has never been stronger in terms of like when even last year or the year before, when you're doing BRAWL and like the summer contests and everything, it's like there is like, I'm seeing people use like new tricks in brick filmmaking, and there's like very unique ways of like telling stories, like kind of holding people's attention, or even like getting people to get more emotional like with some brick films, because I've been noticing there's been a lot of kind of like heartfelt driven stories that you usually would see like in a live action short or even a feature, but then it's nice that it's kind of taking like a risk with brick, because Legos are they're Legos, so you're not necessarily like you're gonna be there, you're gonna think they're really cute and adorable, but to try to hit that kind of like that gut punch is a little bit, I feel like it's a little bit difficult, but it honestly like leads the gates open for people to at least make an attempt to try to do that, and I feel like you get some really good ones.
I definitely, when I was watching the playlist, one thought that came to my mind is that this feels like Sad Boy Summer, but I also, also thinking that at the same time, there were some genuinely really good like emotional films that like, and it's with brick filming, it's quite often sometimes hard to hit certain emotional points when they're like cute Lego figures. It's one of those things, I think we talked about it quite a bit, like in terms of like drama brick films and how you tell a story that's a bit more serious. I was really surprised that there's some films, I guess especially in like the top 10, that are a lot more hitting more serious sort of notes, and it kind of really actually working and resonating in really successfully. I think it's the 9th place entry, which we'll be talking about later, which I think was really effective in that. But I do actually kind of want to say, because we're like 20 minutes into the podcast, and I haven't said like congratulations, Nerdnort, for coming first place.
Thank you. Yeah. Gosh, that was a surprise to me. I think, I don't know, I always go into contests not really intending on placing. I just want to make a good film. And so I was going, if I got 6th last year, if I could get around there again, I can, I'm at least staying where I am, and then, I got first. I still am surprised by that. But yeah, this year was strong, and like everything was, I think I've been saying in calls leading up to the results, everything was so so good, and there were so many good films that the top 10 was not guaranteed. You know, like in my mind, I couldn't create a top 10. I could create like the 30-ish films I might place in the top 30. I don't know where they're gonna go, and yeah, so I'm very shocked that I placed as high as I did.
It is. It is very funny going from, you know, sort of like hosting THAC to then going into participating in BRAWL, but also not having anything to do with the kind of judging side of it. And you know, like being completely sort of surprised as to like what's going to be, you know, top 10, well, that kind of stuff. And it's really interesting because I think this year, it was kind of like there were so many really like notable films that you know, going into the top 25. Even early on, I was like, wow, this is, you know, Sea Lego Films on 25th, and I was like, that was a really good film. Like, where is this going? Like, this is crazy. And yeah, no, so it was like, if we had time to talk about the top 25, like, we would, but like, but no, it's just like amazing, like seeing the level of quality and I think it's like something which I think we do try and always mention to people of like, you know, when it comes to you know, not placing in the top 25 or that kind of thing, that, you know, not to be too disheartened by that, because if you're seeing the standard of like things being made, like there's so many like really good films that didn't even place this year, and it's the same, like, you know, from my perspective of like judging like THAC, there's like a lot of films where like I doing like a short list, and I'm sure like a lot of like judges will kind of resonate with this, like trying to make a short list of like, okay, here's like a top 30, and it's like my top 30 was actually like 65. And it was
like when we're judging a contest, usually if we're watching a playlist, you know, the judges will be just writing down all the ones that they think might place as they're going through the playlist, and then by the end you've written down like half the playlist, and you're like, oh no, that's way too many. But then that reminds me of something I was just thinking of just a bit ago, which I'm sure, again, we've probably said it before, but like, people talk about how, you know, original Brick films don't really get views anymore, but at the same time, like on the other hand, like the contests like this, they do have more entries than ever, and like really good quality throughout the whole playlist. So like looking at it from that perspective, it's like better than it's ever been. That's kind of weird.
Yeah,
there's two sides.
I think it's sad to see that original films don't get a lot of views, but at the same time, it's been like that for so long that it's great to see that people still make great original films and stuff. I don't think, you know, I think I used to make Lego Batman videos, but now I just make original stuff, and I sort of treat my channel as like an archive of what I've made, not a place to get seen or whatever. And I found that more rewarding when I'm making original films and
actually
stuff. So
when did you start brick filming?
That would have been like 2016, I think. I think I was like, yeah, I think I watched some behind the scenes video on a thing and went, oh, it's just taking pictures of Lego. I can do that. And then I had like a little pocket camera and put it into Windows Movie Maker, and it moved, sort of. And then I sort of slowly, I got a webcam and used that for a little bit, and then I don't know, I think I bought a camera and then joined Bricks in Motion and entered BRAWL 2022. I don't know, I feel like by comparison to a lot of people, my story is quite short of, I animated stuff and then I just kind of kept doing that and didn't make a whole lot.
Yeah. And I think this is your first top 3 contest placement on Bricks in Motion, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you have been appearing in the top 10s or top 15s recently, a couple of times.
What even
Lost in the Current pack was really good.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy with that one. I was, yeah, it felt like a complete film, which I can't really say about the 2 contest entries between that and this one, which was sort of my goal coming into this was I don't really want to. I want to make a film that feels like a complete story, not like I've cut something out.
Yeah.
Which actually ended up meaning I added more stuff in. The whole car driving sequence wasn't in the script. And then it was the last day, and I thought, this doesn't work. Let me add an entire car driving sequence just to pace it a bit better.
Just to make more work for yourself.
Yeah. I'll animate. I'll do all of the sound design on Saturday, and then hand it in Saturday night. And then I woke up Saturday morning and went, some of these I'm missing some shots here. Let me build the car interior that I built on the last day and shot the 2 shots that are in that, and then I'll do all the car exterior shots and.
I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I definitely.
Yeah, it
think
absolutely was worth it.
Paid off.
There's some of the best shots
you.
in it, and it's crazy to hear that it was done on the last day.
Yeah.
I wanted to do no animating on the last day. I think I did 2 shots on the last day. So to do such a complex sequence, it's well done. Yeah.
I think in a lot of my original stuff, I've done a lot of car chase scenes and stuff. It was my fight scene where a lot of people animate a fight scene or something. I just animated car chases because I felt I enjoyed it a little bit more, and so I know how to set up a road with a car so that I can move the road underneath the car.
I was gonna ask about that. That really brief shot caught my eye where the wheel is moving and the road markings are moving at the same time. That's always such a pain to do.
Yeah.
So what's the rig like for that?
It was like a regular stop motion rig with some metal ball joints, and I basically just blue tack it onto the top of the car, and then just roll the thing back and forth underneath it, and it works quite well. I did have to. That shot took longer than it should have because I was just taking frames and not looking at the animation, and then when I looked back, the inside of the wheel isn't perfectly circular. It's like a square, and so if I move it too much, then when it jumps forward a frame, it looks like the wheel hasn't moved. And so I had to go back and delete a whole bunch of frames because it didn't look like the wheel was moving, but the road was passing under it.
Yeah,
it's always when you're not looking at the preview. Hey, it's just the one time you're not watching as you're doing. You're like, oh, this will be looking good.
Yeah, this will be easy. It's just like, oh, it's not square. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, it's such a short shot that most people would you just flies by in a second. But yeah, it caught my eye because I know from trying to do effects like that, it's always harder than it looks.
Well, watching back at it now, just then, and it's mad. It's wild to me that like it's one of those things where, like, it sounds kind of crazy to think like, oh yeah, you kind of at the last minute, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna have to add these things in. But it absolutely is one of those things that it adds so much to the experience of watching something, and it is one of those things where like it doesn't feel like you've cut corners. And it's definitely something which I think about when I look at some films that I've made for like contests, and in my head it's like I kind of plan for these sort of things in the script, and like pretty much I never like add stuff. I usually just take away. And it's a much worse thing because it's like you internalize this thought of like I am taking stuff out of the script, rather than being like, oh yeah, I've added this in, and just the way that you look at it changes it. But also something I think about a lot with some films that I've done that maybe for like a contest or something is that I'll watch something and be like, I had this exterior shot of the building in my head, and then you don't have that. Now it just cuts straight to the next room, and I'm like, it would have been so much better if I just had that one thing, and like, yeah.
Yeah, I really didn't want to. My goal was to make a finished film, and that sort of meant that I wrote a script. In my head, when I was setting up the shots in my head, the train station was surrounded by a town. And then I got to animating the train station, and I went, I don't have time to build a town. And so the plan was to take this little car, make a miniature version of it, and build a miniature town, and do like one shot of a car driving past the town. But I didn't have a town, and then I didn't. And so I just thought to myself, oh, well, you can do a car chase really quickly, so this is just one car. How difficult could it be? Which
It definitely shows that you've animated car stuff like that before, because getting the motion of it right, like the ease in and ease out, I haven't done much car animating, and the weight of it is so good. And people have mentioned it before, but the mug and how it sways on the front of the car, it's so well done. Thank
you. Yeah,
I love that shot where it goes up the hill and it's like you stop, and there was something where it's always impressive when like an animator doesn't touch the car, like you don't see any movement. I literally rewound like that footage and I was like, oh my god, he never touched the car is so perfectly still over that hill, and you get the two detectives coming out of there. I was like, oh man, that's really cool. I was like, that's really impressive. And with opening the doors and closing it, I was like, oh my god.
Thank you. Yeah,
I love to see how people save time in these contests. And when I rewatch the films, I kind of notice, like, the train station set feels like a big, expansive set, but then I was kind of examining it, and I was like, it's really just a couple of tan pillars.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, it connects at the top. And one thing you might notice is that the train station is just two sides of two platforms of a train station. But then when I wanted to make the front of the train station, I just took the back one and moved it forward so that there were two sets of pillars. So it looked like there was a sort of cover, a larger train station, but it was just the back replaced and the front and stuff. So
one of the tricks I always love doing with doing something like with a building, some sort of interior of some kind, is you might build something with sort of maybe two viewing points in mind, and then there might be one shot that's from a different viewpoint, and it's just like what I've done in the past is be like, okay, I'm going to do a close-up where it's like you don't see too much of the background's going to be more out of focus. I'm just going to take this piece apart from this wall and just put it there, and no one's going to even question it. It just looks like it's it's just part of that building, and that kind of thing. Just if you plan ahead with in terms of like, I've done these many shots for this angle, now I'm just going to break that apart and just sort of purpose it just for this one extra shot or something. That is always one of those really fun things that you don't even really think about when you're watching something. And there's so much in this that I find really interesting as well, because I think, as Sean, you were saying, you just don't think about any of this when watching it, and it's sort of less just the fact that it takes kind of talking about the process of it, and you're like, oh yeah, this is how you save time.
The interrogation at the start is basically just in a black void, but it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a filing cabinet with a water, like a big thing of water, but the thing of water doesn't actually lead anywhere. It's just on top of a filing cabinet, and it's only there so that one of the detectives can lean against it, and that's the only set dressing other than the table, and everything else is just a dark void, which again I had experience with from last year's space film.
Yeah, I
did like your entry last year.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The space one.
I was happy with that one from a cinematography point of view, but narratively it felt like a 2-act piece, which made me more determined to make something finished this year.
It's kind of
something I did love about Lost in the Current was that the ending of Lost in the Current really hit well as a good ending, and that's always especially impressive in Thack. It doesn't just sort of fizzle out.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very happy with that film. It's one of those ones I don't know if I'll be able to top that for Thack, really.
Oh yeah, Lost in the Current. I really loved that one. That was definitely a really good one. And it's funny because as you're saying, like, the 2022 was the first time you actually entered one of the contests, right? The BRAWL film, and you've been consistently placing really highly, actually. Even if this is the first time in the top 3, it's you've even with that one you placed 14th, and then Lost in Current 7th place, Causality, BRAWL last year 6th place. So yeah, you've been consistently getting there with the high placing films, and it sounds as though I'm just really good at like memory of these things, but I've got one of the many tabs I've got up. I've got at the moment I've got like literally like everybody here on different tabs on the Brickfilms wiki.
Essential.
Yeah.
I feel like talking about Cobalt 4th place. I know we probably plan to go through all of the top 10, but we can probably cover the ones by the people who are here, like just throughout the podcast.
Yeah, I mean we kind of have to some extent already with both Nerd Noughts and Shrimpies. So yeah, definitely we should.
There's more to say.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, no. When it comes to like doing the top 10, it's definitely a case of like, we can kind of talk about those films again. Would just be kind of like more kind of just like, when we get to those ones, it's probably going to be like less of a discussion because we've already talked about them kind of. But yeah, no, yeah, definitely, yeah. We should talk about Cobalt. That one was really interesting. I think one of the things I really liked about it was that it's very kind of like, I'd say like understated. Like it's quite you sort of takes your time, and it's sort of like just really kind of just builds like this atmosphere, and I think there's a really interesting kind of use of like sort of like shot compositions, and just sort of like it's just like a really aesthetically really interesting film, and I really enjoyed this one.
Man, thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of it, because I'm kind of limited actually with what the bricks I have around here. Because I think like 2 years ago I moved out, and I can only took so much. Like, I have like a bunch, but they're back at my mother's place, so it's like over there's like stacks upon stacks. And I'm like, well, I can't take all this if I'm like flying and moving, so I can only take just kind of a few things with me, like a few maybe small boxes. So I think the past couple years, past 2 years has been very much kind of using everything I can to the ability. So like a lot of actually I did a lot of like kind of doing a lot of either close-ups or a lot of kind of just like messing around with different backgrounds, even just different background drops, just to try to make it just so because I was just thinking to myself, well, I'm like, I gotta fill out the scene somehow. I'll even do the trick of just taking a piece from another set and just kind of just slowly just moving it in there. It's in the background. You're like, all right, cool, that's enough. There's a wall right there if I can just do that. So a lot of that was just kind of just seeing what I had, and just I think the whole the old only build what the camera sees kind of mentality.
Yeah, the big stars out of focus in the background was really distinct visually, and sometimes I sometimes complain about shallow focus in brick films, but I think it was actually done well here. Like, it felt intentional. and a great look. So I'm kind of wondering what was the lens and the settings.
Oh, it's actually funny enough. My camera's actually right here. I was using it for something else, but it's still I still use the same Canon Rebel T5i. I still use this, but the kit lens it came with. I think it's what's this, an 18 by 55 millimeter like zoom lens, but because I do love I do love shallow depth of field a lot, and I think with brick films, I think it was a lot of fun because I get to do like rack focusing.
Mhm.
So I love doing that a lot, especially when I'm doing like especially when I'm animating it. I think I have a lot of fun doing that. I think there's a specific shot. I think when they're in the I guess the testing slash like interrogation room, the checkerboard room, and the other side, you get all the scientists and and government officials on the other side. I remember I watched THX 1138, and I remember the short film that Lucas did, and there's a great rack focus he does. It's not, I don't think it's not in the actual film, but in the short film, there's like a great one. I think it's like maybe midway towards the end of the film. And it's like three separate people. You got one here, like one here, and then one way in the back, and he was just rack focusing from one up to another, and they were each saying something. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I really want to do that again. But I think but along with that, a lot of it just came down to just I love not going too. I'm glad that this camera at least doesn't go too intense with it, because you do see there may be some stuff out there, like some films out there that they kind of it's like almost way too crisp of like the subject, and in the background's like really really blurry, like almost looks like a zoom when you're blurring out, like when you're if you're in the middle of a call or whatever, you want to blur out your background, it looks like that. Like, so I'm glad that the camera doesn't do that, because otherwise I would agree that I'm like, okay, it's a little too forced at that moment.
Mhm.
But definitely trying to find a nice balance with it. But also it did leave me also with kind of messing around with the background a lot more too, because I think it helped out a lot now with this contest, but I think with the summer contest last year, it really helped out because I was able to, because I think I did like an outdoor, an exterior, like in an alleyway, and it really helped out because I had a backdrop and it had really nice colors. And like when I was focusing on the subject, it was really nice that you kind of get like these little spots of color, and it really and I loved, because it reminded me a lot of it was, I believe it went by Smeagol at the time, but it was Unrenewable, like this way back. And there's a diner scene, and in the diner or sorry, there's a restaurant scene, and in that, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but like there's a restaurant scene in the background. It's kind of, I think, because back then he had a page where he broke down how he made the film, and I'm so sad because it got taken down, or he took it off. But in that behind the scenes, he says like in writing, he wrote, "Oh yeah, I just basically had a bunch of Christmas lights."
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I just put them in the back, and like I had a set, but just they're in the back, and I just kind of luckily I was doing a shallow depth of field, so it just kind of looked like there was more activity in the background.
Mhm.
So like I think I took a lot. I think I was taking inspiration from that, and also like it was between that and like THX was like definitely like from that movie forward, it was like a lot of I was taking that as a visual inspiration.
Yeah. I was waiting for my opportunity to jump in and say, "Oh, did you know that was Christmas lights?"
I'm so sad I'm so sad he took down the making of it. It was such a great in depth. I think he went through like most of the films he made at the time. I'm so sad. I remember one time I was trying to look for it, and I was like, no, he took it down.
Yeah, on the topic of like the shallow depth of field kind of discussion, this really interests me because I recently just started animating with a DSLR myself, Canon DSLR, and now this is all stuff that like I've learned so much about from podcasts over the years, and watching other people's films with DSLR. So it's to actually be doing it in practice is like a new thing for me. And the big thing with all the, like, one of the big takeaways that I've taken from from like, you know, when to use you know, shadow depth of field and when not to. A lot of it comes from, you know, what is the, everything has a motivation, everything, you know, what should have a motivation, should have a point.
Yeah.
And what I think is so brilliant about like the way that you use shadow depth of field in this film is that it works so well to make it feel claustrophobic and sort of like you're, you know, captive, like the character in the film, being boxed in. It just sort of like shrinks the space that she's in, and I think that's just like a, you know, a really great use of that kind of shadow depth of field. Yeah, I think it was just done really tastefully, especially again as well with those earlier shots as well, with the sort of bokeh, the sort of stars, and yeah, the rack focus was also really great. I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Sometimes on Brick's Motion we complain about Brick films that sort of are like rack focusing every 2 seconds just out of necessity. Just like every single line is like, okay, have to focus in, but like, and it's so distracting. But like everything can be done well with intentionality, like with actual planning. So yeah.
I didn't want to do it. Oh yeah, I was afraid. That was the other thing too. Is only used it on sometimes because I do. It's definitely, I do feel the same way. If you do it like if you do it too many times, it becomes kind of gimmicky and it becomes a little bit just repetitive, and you're just like, all right. It's actually funny enough. It's how I feel about when they do those crash zooms, but when they like the mockumentary style. When they just kind of like, you know, very much like The Office or Succession, there's like, sometimes it's good, like we see it every once in a while, but if it's like, I remember it was like sometimes where it's like every single line and you're just like, they're just like you're rack focusing. I'm like, okay, I'm like, it doesn't need to be every single time. It could be sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's the difference between, and I think a lot of it comes from experience and maybe like experimenting more with films and like why, you know, looking at not just the fact that like, oh yeah, I can see that they do this thing. It's more of a case of why and why it works and like why they use it. And yeah, generally the best examples will be doing it much more sparingly, and there'll be like a real kind of thought process to why they did that. And it's one of those things which I think, yeah, through experience you learn, and like people who are starting out, they'll pick up on those really noticeable aesthetic things, but they might over time realize like why something is done. Yeah,
it's really funny too. You mentioned the star background. I remember actually, it was funny. It was one of the few cases I didn't want the shallow depth of field, and it just was not working out just because of the lens I had. I remember I was not a fan of those shots, like the Vietnam War section. I was not a fan of the way it was coming together. I had to keep going because it was, you know, time was always ticking. I was oh my god, I was looking at it and like looking at the playback, and I was like trying to fix the color correcting, and I was like, and thinking to myself, this is not it. But then when I shared images and people were responding to it, I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool. There's an audience that at least appreciates it. I can kind of live with this a little bit. But I remember that was one of the few cases that I really didn't want that to happen. I was trying really, really hard, but it just wasn't panning out the way I wanted it to. But I'm glad it worked out though, because in the end I was like, okay, you know, she does look pretty nice.
Yeah. I think I commented on your video saying that I really liked that opening scene. Like that was the bit that I went, oh, that's really cool. I think the stars, like just having a background that isn't like blue or black or whatever time of day it is really powerful. And the same for Quiet Extinction in that opening shot, having the clouds in the sky and stuff. It's just like, I think this year I commented on a lot of films where they felt like really alive worlds. They felt like they were more than just what you were seeing in the camera, and was a lot of foregrounds and middle grounds and backgrounds, which in a live action setting is not much to be saying like, oh, it has something in the background, but in brick filming it's like wow, you have a cloud in the sky. That's awesome.
Your clouds were really good. I like the design of them. I'm curious, did you
Oh, yeah.
repurpose the smoke from the train to make your brick built clouds? Because they're really cool looking.
No, I built the clouds first, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, I built the clouds first, and then I built the smoke afterwards. The smoke was another one of those things I wasn't planning on doing. I was planning on shooting it so that the train was out of focus, or like so that the funnel of the train was out of focus. And then when I got to framing it, there was just no way I was doing that. I thought, well, I suppose I have to, and it's one of the only things I haven't taken apart, but I just...
The smoke was great.
I think it took...
Yeah, no,
I think it took
The
like...
smoke was really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, there's
It was beautiful.
there's just
Yeah, that's cool.
3 of them, and I just sort of slotted each out.
And you had to do
And
it
then-
even in the shots where you don't see it on screen because it was doing the shadows on them. So
Yeah, don't remind me of the shadows, and I realized halfway through the shot, which to be fair, it was a wide shot, it was a still frame, or like everything else other than that was pretty still. And I thought, you could just reshoot it with a different lighting setup. I thought, but to be fair, like swapping one of these out takes like 3 seconds. It's sort of in your head it feels like this is going to take forever, but then actually that's it.
I did
thought
notice
so.
that, yeah, you kept the shadows going when the smoke wasn't visible on screen. I thought, that's a great little detail.
No, I felt the
Yeah.
same way. I think there was a moment I think in Cobalt where like I think I was editing it and there was a shootout segment and I was like, all right, I'm done. Like I put the thing in. I'm like, all right, I'm good. And I was about to move on from the shot and then I realized there's reflection.
there's a reflection.
Wow.
I noticed you had the muzzle flash in the reflection too, because it's one of those
Yeah.
things that you could just ignore, but it just adds to the production value
Well,
since you have to mask it
yeah.
in to chop it off too. Yeah, it's...
It was because I was also like, because I was seeing who was gonna like obviously on the Discord. I was seeing you can see some people that you really admire over the past couple of years, and you say, oh, people are like friends or whomever your fans of like, oh, like they're gonna be in there too, and then so you're sitting there thinking, and you're also just by yourself, and you're sitting there, you're like, all right, I could be lazy, I could not, no one will notice, it'll be for 2 seconds, but then you're like. But if I look at it and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, it would have been cool if you put a reflection right there. Like, did you notice that? And I'm like, all right, well, never mind. I'm going to spend. But it did feel like it was a thing where it feels like it's going to take forever. But it really just takes like a couple minutes.
Yeah. Like, I'd say I spent longer building these than I did swapping them out in the shots that they were in. So really, I think that's a trick that you need to make the most of in a timed contest, is to take a step back and say, how long is this really going to take? And in the case of smoke, not that long, and it's worth it for that little time. And the same for a muzzle flash like that. Like,
I think one of the most attention-grabbing first shots in an entry was Quiet Extinction. When that came up, it was like, oh, okay, this is looks like it's going to be something good. But how long did that take? Because I'm guessing there's a lot of like digital doubling going on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I go super in depth in the behind the scenes that I posted for it. It took the most time, as you could imagine. And I did that because it is the first shot that you see, so I wanted it to be spectacular, right?
Very
I wanted
effective.
to build that set as the... Oh, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to build that set last. I wanted to do that on the last day because I'd had to clear all my tables and build an entirely new set that takes up a table. But I did it halfway through the contest, so I wasted a lot of time. And then, it's a lot of visual effects, so I had to key out the background, but I only have a small piece of cardboard that's like actually blue, so I had to move it along to key out the different parts of the background.
Okay.
And then, a lot of visual effects with the clouds and stuff, duplicating it. And the background's actually Lego bricks. I took a reference photo of Lego bricks and then duplicated it and made it so that it looked like it was brick built from a distance, but rather than it being like a uniform color. So the opening shot, and
Are all the trees and grass not duplications?
No, except for some of the trees in the background. So it's I'm going to say 80%.
Wow.
Which you see is what you get.
That
Looking
is
at it right
yeah.
now.
that is impressive.
It's a beautiful shot.
Yeah, that is
Thanks.
wow.
That's really nice.
Wow.
And that's another one where I'm only building. Yeah. I bought a whole bunch on Bricklink, and I'm like, the thing that I'm always building is like forests and stuff, and like I'm always like, oh, I wish I had more of this. So.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah, but it's another thing of building only what the camera sees. So if you look at the behind the scenes, there's like a definitive edge, like where the camera sees. You can see that there's like a chopped off corner where there's nothing at all, because I really used every brick that I had, and even like cheese slopes and just bricks, like anything that wasn't a plant as well, I threw in there just to make it built up a bit more. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the joys of filming on like a DSLR is the freedom of being able to be like, it's the quality is the actual image is at such a high resolution that like I can just like crop it in just a little bit, and if like there's a slight corner that's like the edge of the frame, edge of the set, fine, just zoom it in. Like that level of freedom is just it's just incredible. Like every time that you kind of like zoom in an inch with like C920, you realize you're losing that quality, and it's like that's not 1080p anymore. That's you know. But I did want to like something that I just watching through the loop on the currently of your film, and like just that, you know, you got that first shot, and you got the second shot, you got that like subtle rustle of the leaves in the foreground that are like out of focus with the spinning windmill. It's just like, yeah, that is just these little details are like such an important thing. Like,
I love that windmill design, by the way. That's a really it looks so good.
I do too. Yeah. So I'm glad I pre-built that one, because if I was to do that during the contest, I would have spent forever fumbling trying to get like the intricate details and stuff. It was really flimsy, so I was really worried animating it that like bits were going to fall off or it wasn't going to loop properly, because I would have bumped like the back of it and it wouldn't line up properly. So it was a hassle.
Yeah.
I did want to actually make a very obscure reference to BRAWL 2018. Which was the first BRAWL that I entered, and I think it's like funny because it seems like recent to me, because it's like that's when we were doing the podcast then, but this is like 7 years ago now. But in 2018 we had in 6th place we had HMB by Far and Away Productions, and I remember really liking that film, and I particularly really liked the clouds they had in the background. They had this really cool kind of like the sort of plate sort of design, where it's just like stacking up plates and using a combination of different like white plates, and basically having them on the edge of the frame where like you could, I guess, like, well, I kind of replicated it, and basically what I did is I just had like some tube pieces just out of frame, just keeping it up, and I really enjoyed that design. I definitely would recommend giving that film a watch, actually, for that. And it's funny because I think about that, and I've not really thought too much about actually like doing that sort of in more recent films. I think I spent a lot of time like building a set, and then I'm just trying to get more ambitious with the actual building of like sets themselves. And then I get to the point of like having the background. I'm just like, yep, blue cardboard, blue piece of card, done. But I can really see like how much, just having stuff like the clouds and stuff just makes it so much more full, and really does make it feel like, oh, there is a world beyond that.
But certainly, yes. When I saw the first shot of Quiet Extinction, I was thinking like, wow, he must have spent so much time on just this one shot alone. But like, it's so effective. Like, it's really good to hit people with a really impressive shot right at the very start, I think.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I could repurpose it almost exactly for the opening title shot, because it's the same framing and it's just a different lighting setup. So I got some mileage out of it. It wasn't just for the one exterior shot. It got a second use as well. So
yeah.
There's a set in there, and I think it's about, I believe, like if I pull it up, it's like about like almost like a little over 3 minutes in. It's the hallway with the paintings and the there is something so cool about the way that's built and the way that's lit. There's something very. It reminds me of it was the Han Solo affair.
Yeah,
it reminds
you know
me of
why?
the-
Because the artwork that's on the walls, that's part of a Cloud City mock. That's the only other thing that was built
That's
before the
hilarious.
contest. I saw them and I'm like, oh, that could work pretty well as the background. So I built the rest based off that. So yeah, that's why it reminds you of Han Solo affair, because Cloud City was one of the inspirations for that hallway shot. So
honestly, it's a really good, and I love looking at the behind the scenes of that, because it's just, I remember at one point it's just almost like they just tacked on a wall, like on like I forgot what pieces they used, but they just basically like, oh, we just build like a nice smooth solid wall and we're just gonna like just kind of anchor it right here like in between on the ground. But it's like it just gives there's something about, yeah, even like when you have the floors, you have like a little bit of texture on the floors. The floors are really cool, and it's just, I love that the hallway just extends all like just on, and it's just there's just I don't know, just love this aesthetically. It's really really pleasing.
The floor in the courtroom
thanks,
with all the cheese slopes was crazy.
yeah, that took a lot of time as well. Yeah, because I'd never done anything like that, and I knew I wanted to. So yeah, stacking all the little cheese slopes and hoping that they didn't slide out of place and stuff.
Yeah. So if you had, you go.
Sorry, go on.
You go.
Oh no!
If you had a minifigure standing on those cheese slopes and you pulled it off the thing, would all the cheese slopes just come out?
Oh wow!
Yeah, because I had it.
Yeah,
I had him
I thought
tacked
so.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then same for the lectern as well. So when I needed to move that, because that was my mod element, so I needed to shift that to get it in the background, and there's tack underneath. I had to like slide it and like smear the tack to like be able to pull it off without yanking the cheese slopes out, because there was a time where that happened and I had to put him back in quick before everything shifted. So yeah.
I was
I
watching
also
that
really
this
like
morning.
the
I
Harry
thought-
Potter wands as the legs of the tables.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually watched Taco Trouble 2 as inspiration for some of the courtroom stuff, and I didn't want to copy it exactly because I like how you did the railing with like the flower pieces and some other techniques that you used for that. I can't believe how big that set is in that film, because mine's like a quarter the size of what it is in that brick film. I just don't know how you managed to do that. It's crazy.
Well, I did spend a lot of time and money. I made a point of approaching that as like, I don't care about how much it costs or how many bricks I need to order. Like, that was just my mindset going into it. Was like, well, if I need to buy 200 of this one type of piece, then that's what I'll buy, and 200 of the next type of piece. If ever I'm searching through my sorted Lego now, and I pick up a gigantic sack of one piece in brown or one piece in tan, and I'm like, oh, that was Taco Trouble 2, I guess. That's why I have so much more of that in that color than any other color.
That's funny.
But I'm also interested by the light rays coming in the window in the courtroom, because I've always found it hard to get like rays through a window, because there's no atmosphere in a set in stop motion.
They're visual effects, Penta.
It looks good.
Yeah. I know. I tried to do it in camera, but yeah, as you said, like you need like something for the light to catch, so like haze or like an atmosphere. But you can't do that with brick films, because but I still wanted the razor light, because a lot of the inspiration that I looked at had like that really iconic the rays coming from the window. So that's a visual effect volumetric tutorial that I found on After Effects, and I did it just for that shot. I couldn't do it for the other shots.
That was pretty effective though. Like that works really well. Like that was a good integration. But it's funny. This is a slightly change of format from previous podcasts. I'm doing some kind of like actual kind of live sort of editing when I'm going through the clips. Because I'm just like I'm sort of skipping through on the different like scenes on OBS. So yeah, hopefully it's
a good way to do it. It'll save you on editing later on.
Yeah, well, only time will tell, but hopefully this will mean that we actually release podcasts
at all.
I was gonna say, I'm more surprised. I was surprised to see that you managed to fit a whole courtroom drama. Like when the minute I saw the courtroom, I was like, wow, you fit a whole Like, and that's, I feel like that's like, it was very, like, it can be really difficult, or it could be difficult if not handled correctly, you know? Like, you could easily, like, fall into the pit of, all right, like, you need to do, like, extended, like, 5+ minute scenes of just a straight up, you know, just to get all the arguments and everything kind of situated. But it's very impressive that, like, well, one, the sets, but also number two, just having that be a part of the narrative, and then cutting back and forth of what, you know, of what's going on is just really, really impressive, honestly.
Yeah, thank you.
I think
Yeah.
also
Yeah. Part of the thing that
voice
helped with that
acting.
was, yeah, the voice acting is so good. Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
The two main voice actors, they helped me out on a project that I haven't released yet, a Star Wars project that I'm
Ooh,
working
nice.
on. So yeah, they're just phenomenal. And the vocal performances that they did were just so great and just fit the characters so well. And then Glenn Hart, who's the prosecutor in the courtroom stuff, he had allergies the day that he had to do his dialogue. But he worked it into the character, and it's got like that croaky sort of voice. It's so good.
I really liked his vocal performance, and it's interesting that you say that. I can definitely hear that. But it's like it just adds it adds his character, it makes it feel so real, and it just like sounds so unlike anything I've heard in Brick films, like, generally. And it's funny, I does remind me, actually, I remember really enjoying the voice acting in ACO as well, your Thack film from this year, which came 7th place. I thought that the acting in that was really good as well. And that was also a really good film. So yeah.
Thanks. I'd never worked with those voice actors. I put out a casting call for that project, and it's hard to do a casting call for it because you don't know anything about what the project is. You can just say, oh, you have to be available this day, and I don't know what it is. No, but there was only one female and one male voice actor that applied for it, so I'm glad that they fit the part for that film as well. So
yeah, that works in your favor. That luckily they were good. But actually, story wise, when I was watching the Quiet Extinction, it kind of make me think of, this kind of feels like sci-fi Oppenheimer. I don't know if that was like on your mind.
I love that. No. I get the Oppenheimer part because there's a lot of time jumps, and and then the sci-fi part, I just naturally wanted to put more sci-fi stuff, so I'm glad I could do that with the science lab stuff. But yeah, the courtroom stuff came about because I thought that was the best way to deliver all the exposition, because there's a lot of explaining that happens in it, and I didn't want it to be narration or just character dialogue. I haven't done much character dialogue before, so I didn't want it to be super clunky. So yeah, having it take place in a courtroom, it made sense for them to be explaining stuff, not just for the audience but for other people in the courtroom.
Yeah, that's such a great narrative, like, device to be kind of like, yeah, you've got this sort of, you know, they're kind of like asking these questions for the jury, you know, the audience in that room, and you know, like, it's to be able to go like back and forth. And I thought that you did a really good job with the writing as well, with the lawyer kind of like, you know, sort of asking these questions, and like it not feeling like just a back and forth exposition dump, you know. It was really good.
I was just reminded that Nerdnaut's film has original music, so I wonder what was the process like that for organising original music for BRAWL.
Yeah, I should thank 300 Star for that immensely, because oh my gosh. I've known him since we were very young, and he did some original music for my Thack entry, although not a lot, because scoring for a Thack film is not very easy. Basically, the process was that we were in a call the first night, and I told him about the script. I sent him the script, and we discussed in detail what the music would be like. Then I sort of gave my sort of 3 points, like the interrogation at the start. I wanted some dark, ominous music, and then I wanted to just immediately cut into something really upbeat and happy once the reveal at the end of that scene is done, and then that music would be recycled for the credits, and then the climax needed some tense music. It's actually why the car chase or the car driving scene doesn't have music. I really wish it did, but I didn't plan for that when I called.
That's funny.
That's interesting.
And then I filmed the climax scene and the interrogation scene first, and then sent them fully edited to him. He composed for them and sent the music back, and that was Friday night. So yeah, it worked quite well. It was very good. He's an excellent composer and excellent to work with. So
you so you animated, basically he made a track and you basically animated around the track that he made after giving like an initial like, oh, this is kind of what I'm feeling for this.
I animated first and he composed to it, but I sort of gave him the tone I was looking for first, and I think he played around with some stuff, especially for that title credit scene. Our original plan was to go with...
I love the title credit music. It's so quirky. I couldn't imagine anything better. It's so...
We did have discussions initially about doing something really like Thomas the Tank Engine style instead. But making a tune like that takes a lot longer than you have, and the music he did instead was so good and so upbeat and happy despite what was going on in the film.
It was just because you mentioned having like the voice actors ready for attack, but not knowing what the film was going to be, that made me think of that, because I have had the sort of thought in mind before. Like sometimes if BRAWL is coming up, I think to myself, maybe this year I should try to make an absolute masterpiece for BRAWL, and I should contact Joshua David Mitchell and ask him to be ready to go. Like, I've got no idea what the film's going to be, but just be ready. But then I end up thinking, well, I don't know if I'm even going to come up with an idea once the team is announced. Like, who knows if I'm even going to finish my film? So I don't want to have anybody, waiting in the wings, ready to go, and then I end up being the one who doesn't finish it.
It'd be even worse if you chose to do a no dialogue film for Thack or BRAWL and you had actors lined up and you're like, oh, it'd be so much better if there was no dialogue.
Yeah.
I run into that. Like, so I'm always afraid when we do these contests to like, I run into the same problem or same issue where I'm like, oh man, what if I don't do this? What if there's no dialogue? Like, what if I don't even need it? And then there's just somebody standing by just waiting and stuff. And that's why like every year I always get kind of, I'll get nervous, but then I'll fall back on like someone I usually use because the time constraints or whatever. But I do run into that. I feel like I run into that a lot because I feel bad too.
People having minimal dialogue, it's rewards repeat viewings of it because you have to watch it a couple times to really get it, since it feeds you so little. It's good. Yeah.
I mean, something that I think about quite a lot with like my scripts is that I quite often, they're so much wordier than the films that actually come out, and I because I don't tend to, especially with like BRAWL, I might make like a second draft. Like I'll write down like pretty much that first draft, and then I'm just like tweaking mostly the dialogue, and that's pretty much it. But then I'll as soon as possible I'll be sending that to voice actors, and then I'm editing it like when I'm actually coming to like making a sequence before I actually animate. I'm like, okay, how much of this do I actually need? And I'm like cutting down so much of the dialogue to the point where like I think like it's like, oh wow, they did this whole performance, and there's so much has gone. Like sometimes you literally get a voice actor in and you like, oh, they get 2 lines. They did like so much. But yeah, you get to see like in a more kind of like smaller scale version of what it must be like to edit out like people in big scale movies.
No, I was gonna say, even going back to music for a second, I had a friend of mine that did come. We did the opposite though, which was not the best plan, but it was kind of like how to work with our schedules. But I had like there was a whole, I think it was like 3 or 4 tracks. I think 3. No, 3 or 4 like tracks that were gonna be used in Cobalt. But then I ran into, similar to the voice acting, I ran into when I was, because he composed it first. just because of our schedules. And I was like, okay, maybe I can use like some of it. Like I was trying to plan everything out, but then I started just animating it and just pacing it the way I wanted to pace it. And then I was editing while I was animating, and then I ran into that problem of like, oh wow, I'm like, actually it doesn't work here. Now the tone's different here, and doesn't really work out. I had to like ditch everything. I felt so bad. I was like, hey, I can't use any of your stuff that you composed. He was like, it's okay. And we knew that going in. It was kind of a gamble. I felt so bad. So at the very last minute, I think I had to compose two things, but then I ended up just using one because I didn't need the other one. But it was definitely the process of like, especially when you're editing and you're like finding the film in there again, and then you realize like, oh well, I don't really need this anymore because it's going to be it's too clunky, or oh, I can just cut to here instead because it doesn't, I don't really need either dialogue, or I don't even need music in this section because it doesn't, it kind of works better without it. But it's definitely one of those things where like, I do feel like I run into that as well, and it's kind of, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Bad.
I love writing dialogue. I think I love having two characters talk to one another, and how do they speak and stuff. And so when I watch people who do something with minimal dialogue, or with voice acting or something, I'm really impressed by how much they're able to tell without words, because I'm not good at visual storytelling when dialogue's there, and I can hopefully I can make these two characters feel more alive. But it's always like, I feel like Cobalt didn't have a lot of
No,
dialogue at all.
yeah. No, it actually, he had more stuff to say, but I ended up just winding it down just a couple lines. I've been noticing that with my, like, as I've been refining my style more and more, I'm using like less and less dialogue, and because I love writing dialogue too. And I always want to do like, I always set out to say like, okay, I'm gonna do like a bunch of dialogue. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be like back and forth. It's gonna be amazing. And then I'm like about to animate it. I'll write it all and I'm animating it, and I'm like, well, I don't need this here and this and that. But I do. I feel like also along with dialogue, I think a lot of films like even like there's. I feel like over the years, there's been a lot better in terms of dialogue. There's been a lot of great written brick films that have been coming out that don't really rely on a lot of, I think, on the nose dialogue, or I think I coined the phrase CW dialogue, where it's just kind of, we're just gonna say we're gonna like exactly say how we're feeling and everything. But I think like even the films that came out for BRAWL, it was very impressive to see there was a lot of subtext, and there was a lot of people writing dialogue and like voice acting, and you're getting a lot out of maybe just one line of dialogue, and it just has everything. You just know everything that they're saying in that moment, even if it doesn't like necessarily say, or this is like maybe state the obvious. It's just very much, it's like there's a lot of great subtext, even like with the courtroom stuff. There's a lot of just, it's like you're kind of choosing which what to leave out or what to write. And even with the interrogation, it felt very deliberate. Okay, we're not just saying stuff just for sake of saying it. We gotta like hone down on, okay, what's important and how's it gonna sound natural. I think it's like the perfect word to use for it. Like there's a lot of natural dialogue. I feel like that came out about a lot this year.
Not to derail the conversation, but I do very much like the coining of the phrase CW dialogue. That's probably a great. I think you could definitely watch the CW DC shows as a kind of like learning experience of, this is how not to show characters expressing emotion. I just remember the episode of Legends of Tomorrow when Gorilla God is like says like, I must kill Obama. Yeah.
I really like writing dialogue as well, but at the same time, sometimes when I watch contest entries in playlists, sometimes there's films that come up where it's all just talking back and forth, just back and forth and back and forth, and you're just sort of like, oh my god, it's just yap.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm always afraid that I'm ending up doing that. But like, for some reason this year I just thought, all right, whatever. I'm not I'm not trying to win or whatever. I'm just gonna write my dialogue the way I want it. I have fun doing it. So if people think it's a yap fest, oh well. I had fun. So, but I have that thought in the back of my mind, like, oh no, is this good witty dialogue, or is this just a load of yap?
Oh, it's
The
like
animation is what sells it for your
thank
entry. It's, yeah, and the
It's-
set design too.
it's really hard when you're working on like a dialogue heavy animation, that when you're in the middle of it, and for it to not feel like it's wordy and poorly written, even if it is good. It takes like finishing it and taking some time away from it to realize, oh no, actually this does work, because you're always going to feel like it's just too much, and like no matter how much time you spend on making sure it's not too exposition-y, I have this stuff in my head, like sometimes if I write something with like a lot of dialogue, I think, wait, is all of this just exposition, or is that just in my head? And then I actually take away from it, like, no, actually that they are talking naturally, okay.
I remember in the past making brick films, and I remember there'll be dialogue, and I think it would sound, you guys are running into that issue or that situation where you're writing something like, oh, this sounds great, and then you hear it from another person saying, like, delivering a line, and you just think, it sounded a lot better in my head. I don't know, it sounds kind of cheesy now. I gotta change it.
Also, like as a brick filmer, like learning how to give directions and give cues as well is really important, because I think when you're starting out with dialogue, like especially if you're brick filming at quite a young age, you don't necessarily you might not be able to like particularly articulate very well like how someone else is going to like interpret it, and also brick filmers are not like trained actors, so most of the time, so like they giving them some guidance to kind of be like, this is what I kind of mean, is kind of helpful. And sometimes some people might just literally give you the lines without any context, and like you might have an idea in your head of what it's going to be like, but some people, the voice actor might not know. So like sometimes like just taking the time to give some notes of like, this is what he's feeling at this point, or even doing like a call, which can be quite a fun way of doing it when you've got time. So BRAWL maybe not necessarily, but like in other situations when you have some time, actually just going on a call with a voice actor and being like, okay, let's go through it, and direct is a really fun experience.
I think also like animation plays a big part in dialogue, where a lot of the examples you'd have, especially in brick films, of people just talking to one another, it's also where the people are talking like, hello, how was your day? It was good, thanks. How was your day? My day was good. I went to the store. And it's like, you just go back and forth in the arm, which I when I'm animating and a character is talking, if they go still for more than 2 frames, I feel really bad.
Yeah.
So whenever my character is talking, they're always moving something. Like some part of them is moving, and it's usually more than one part, and it makes it so much more time consuming.
Yeah. Dialogue for me now, like I think since like watching like I think like Edbound kind of like and just kind of taking some influence from him, I kind of like completely changed my dialogue kind of animation to like where like my rule now is that they do not stop moving.
Yeah, I do the same, but it's so time consuming. During BRAWL, I'm always trying to think to myself, all right, I can get away with a second here or there. Some of these words I can let them just stand still, so I need to save some time during BRAWL. Then when it comes time to actually do it, I'm just like, I can't do it. They have to move.
And then you watch a film in the playlist where they're just talking and they're like moving every once in a while, and I just don't notice. And I think about it and go, oh no, yeah, they were just doing. Oh, that looks completely fine, but I can't watch it in Dragonframe. I can't be looking at that.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've rewatched Heck of a Day so many times that by now I have noticed like, wow, a lot of the time they're actually not moving while they're talking. But like, I never thought about that the first couple of times I watched it.
Aero Nomad is actually genuinely really good at making you not notice that with his dialogue. And so Unwavering Dedication is another example of that, where there is like whole sequences where there's not really much movement at all, and it just works. Like I think it's so much, it's an element of so many things. Also, like with dialogue, making it visually interesting. Like you don't ever think that like, oh, I'm doing a fight sequence, so now this, it's got to be more visually interesting than a dialogue scene. Like it's all has to visually have, reason to be the way it is, and like sometimes it's those kind of more subtle, like slower moments that really require some, the best cinematography, and really kind of have like stuff going on there.
That does remind me that in Nerdnaut's film, some of the subtle dialogue animation I was really impressed by. I mean, a similar, I think Christmas in Custody was nominated for Best Animation in the Bricks and Motion Awards for a similar vibe, where it's just really tied to the real subtleties of the voice acting quite closely.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that comes through, because I do really want to, especially with dialogue, when someone gives off a good performance, you really want to like make the most of that and make something, make an animation that does that justice. And I think with a lot of the character, also with a character, I think it's good to, at least for me when I'm writing dialogue, knowing what they would say in a lot of situations. Because Christmas in Custody and Who Is Tying People to Train Tracks both have the same main character. I've written maybe 4 or 5 scripts with this guy in it, and only 2 have ever been made, or 3, I think. So I do sort of, I know how he talks, and so I know how to animate him at the same time, because the 2 are sort of one and the same. But yeah, I do like to focus on some subtleties and make it feel like they are talking, not like an audio file is playing over top of an animation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there definitely was a point in time. I'm not seeing it as much now, but like I remember like in like 2015, 2016, I'd see so many films where you'd have like literally a photograph with dialogue. And it would always be really, really jarring if it's like Jay Silver is doing this like amazing performance and it's just like a picture.
It's slow digital zoom on a still frame.
Yeah.
But something else that's always impressive to me is when you have characters that are walking and talking at the same time, because it's really easy to just think, well, I'm paying enough attention to doing the walk cycle and they are moving, so that's good enough. But like to also add in subtleties that match the subtleties of the voice performance while they're walking, that's an extra level of impressive.
Especially when they're coming out of the train station, because that's not normal walk cycle animation. They're on tiles there, so you like, it's so intricate. I don't know how you do it. It's so good.
That was so I animated the car scene on the Saturday. That was animated Friday night. And
that's crazy.
Originally that wasn't in the script either. And as I was shooting it, I went, okay, so I just need them to walk out. It's on tiles. You need to do a walk cycle on tiles. How much can you like cut this out? And I just eventually gave in and just animated walking on tiles on Friday night.
It pays off because I could hardly see the tack. It turned out really good, that shot, even though it's so brief. Yeah,
thank you. I'm glad you don't notice the tack. It's a lot like what I do is I just take the character and pose them beforehand and then just stick them back where they were before. It's not, I think with studs you can excuse yourself to just sort of like move them, like pick them up, move them, put them back down. But with tack, you can't like just move them while they're standing there. You have to take the whole minifigure out of the set. doesn't help
You
also
had so
that
many voice actors as well in your entry, so I'm just curious, when did you start animating like the dialogue heavy scenes? Because you would have had to get all the lines from the actors and edit it together before you did most of the animation.
I so I voiced the main character, so that was the easy part, was that I could just sort of, most of the scenes I could just do that. That was what I did with the interrogation scene, is I just shot all the shots with this guy in them. And then it was a mess. Voice acting was a mess. I had two friends who were going to voice this character Rose, and the like suspect interviewed at the beginning, but they could only come on Wednesday, so I had to remove a couple of lines from Rose in scenes that I could otherwise shoot without that, and then I recorded my lines, sent Jay Silver's lines to Jay Silver, because when in doubt, when you have a character you need to pull a really good performance, Jay Silver is the first contact. And then Jay Silver sent his lines back. I filmed the climax and the interrogation scene. Then my other two friends voiced Rose and the interrogatee, and then I animated those scenes. It was a mess.
That's like, it's really interesting. It's not that you talking about that. It makes it sound like trying to schedule like A-list actors in a in a movie.
Yeah, I think that's sort of a big thing with contest entries in general. Is you see a lot of people leading up to BRAWL going like, oh, I'm busy half the week, or I'm like, oh, I don't have any voice actors, or oh, I don't have enough bricks, or whatever it is. And I think the entries that do really well aren't the ones that have all the free time in the world, or all the Lego bricks, or the smoothest production lines. They're the ones that something goes wrong and they go, how do I fix this immediately? And the original plan was for these two voice actors who did Rose and the murder suspect to come on Monday or Tuesday, but they were busy, and so I just rescheduled the entire production so that I shot the climax scene first and then shot their scenes after. But it also meant that I could put a little bit more time into the climax scene, because I had the deadline was Wednesday to have that done by, so I had 2 days to film that, which meant I had time for the camera movement and the overhead shot with the train, and all of that animation of people tied to the tracks and stuff. So I think in contests it is really, really valuable to sort of make the most with what you have, not like, and last year, I think, is for my film Causality, I had 2 days of production time. So I spent like 12 hours each day animating and then editing on Friday, Saturday last year. And that placed 6th. That was really good. Like, don't to people who do want to do well, don't let restrictions stop you from making something awesome.
I mean,
Well, you go first.
oh yeah, not particularly a serious response, to be honest, but like for my film in BRAWL this year, I literally did it in like about 12 hours or something. Like the anime, that's probably not true. I mean, the animation side of it, well, it was funny because I literally was like, I think I had already decided that I was not going to make a serious entry, and when because I was still literally making the biggest film, like the longest film I've ever made. It was finished during BRAWL, my continuous story film, and I was like, I think it was like maybe Tuesday by the time that I had like done that, and I was thinking like, oh yeah, I'll still make something, and then like I was just working, completely forgot, and it was like, oh, this is like, it's Thursday now, I probably should actually think about doing it. I'm like, yeah, So I messaged James, Tiny Angry Dog, and was like, would you voice act in a film with a guy who's going to the toilet? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I went with script. I based it like on him, and I just like sent him like the script, but basically with the one direction being like just be overly enthusiastic about everything, and then I built the toilet, like I built the bathroom in like on the Friday, and then just like animated the whole thing on Saturday, and like yeah, it was kind of like a sort of almost like a thack, and it was actually really nice after like spending like sleepless nights working on the continuous story film for like 2 months, just not having to take it too seriously.
Your Brawl entry was so funny this year. I loved the minifigure design with his smile. It's just the funniest Lego piece ever. It's hilarious. And then the sound effect you used for the door busting open, like the second time you used it, I think that got the biggest laugh out of all the Brawl entries that I watched this year, was like the second time he kicks the door open. It's so good.
Yeah, I said this before. Oh no, you go.
Oh no! I was just gonna say I do agree. I was like, in terms of just time, I was gonna say that because I think Brawl landed on a week because I have like a full-time job, so I was like, oh crap, and it's also my hours are like I end at 8 p.m. So like I had to basically use. Oh, I mean, I think it's just a matter of just seizing every opportunity you get, like even just the small moments, like utilizing all the weekend, and then whatever time you have. I always feel like, yeah, I mean, because I feel like it can be done, because I do agree that you do see a lot of people saying, oh, I don't have enough time to do this, and then I'm like, oh, there's always a little bit of time. I think it's just a matter of just using every last second you can, and just to, even if it's going to be small. I think I've been trying to, even like these past few entries, I've been trying to do things I can manage. So and leave myself a little bit of extra like kind of days, or like a little bit extra time just in case something goes wrong or whatever. And there was definitely a lot of that when I was making this one, or like some things just went wrong, and I was like, oh crap. So I was like, all right, let me just like spend just an hour here, let me just think for a second. But it's amazing though to know that you spend like like that was that in that amount of time you were able to do a Brawl entry, and you even got a really great voice actor. He wrote around him, and I just like the fact that he just like, yeah, sure, why not. It's just like
yeah. This year I had more time, much more time, but last year I still placed 6th and only had 2 days. So yeah, I think I don't think it's worth worrying about what you don't have. It's just about making the most of what you do have. Like this year I was fortunate enough to have a lot of time, but in previous years I haven't had that much time, and
I think
it's worth.
I think if you like, there's a lot of brick filmers are procrastinators, so you could have the whole week off and probably spend about the same amount of time as you would if you were working like several days during the week.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I remember I was debating. I think when this was coming up, I got excited. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do it. And then I was like, oh crap, wait, hold on. I'm like, I got a whole ass job. And I was like, no, I'll do it. It'll be fine. I can make it, right? And I literally submitted it 6 minutes before time went up, and I was.
Oh, that's close for Brawl. That's close.
Yeah, it was cutting it close. I remember it was processing on YouTube, and I was immediately like, just immediately went to Discord. I was like, hey, like it's up, like it's there, it exists. There is a link. It's just taking some time to do it.
That's yeah. As long as the link gets sent before the deadline, even if it's still processing for hours, like if the link has been sent before the deadline, we know that it has to have been uploaded before the deadline. So there's no cheating going on, obviously.
I always feel bad though. I always feel bad because I know, judges get like a lot of entries at the last minute. I always trying to make it on time because I was like, that could be really frustrating if you're just like towering everything, and all of a sudden, like, you get this one, you get people messaging you too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think like sort of like to think about time, we probably should start talking about the top 10. But actually, just before that, seeing as you're on the call, I think if you want to talk a little bit about the 12th place entry, initiative assistance, because I do want to say, like, straight off, like, I know that you kind of considered it sort of like unfinished, but like it still works like a lot. I mean, obviously it does. It got to 12th place, but yeah, I'll let you go on.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point at which I was considering submitting it with no sound design, and then I was thinking, you know, it's not going to rank, like, whatever. But then I thought, no, actually, I'll put the sound effects on all the shots I have, but then I was looking at it, I was like, even though it doesn't really have a third act, like, now that it has the sound effects, maybe it's good enough to still rank. Like, it's kind of watchable. The animation at the end is fun, and the set at the start is good. I spent way too long on the first set. I wasted loads of time designing that, as I usually do.
Yeah, if you were to squint and look at it out of focus, like my favorites is on the right, next to where the drill is. Like, they look like the shelves that are in like workshops. Like, the set design really good. And I have one question as well. Towards the end, where you're animating them in the bushes, how are you not hitting the bushes on accident? Because the minifigures look like they're so close to the bushes in that shot.
That was intentionally set up, so, you know, it's on a pretty long lens, a longer lens than all the other shots in the film. So a long lens makes it look like everything is all compressed, pushed up against each other. But, you know, the bushes in front are way out in front, and the bushes in the back are way out in back. So so that I wouldn't bump them while I'm animating them. So they're not actually close to touching the bushes at all.
That's when you. That's when you know that you're speaking to someone with experience with DSLRs.
I do love the shot where, like, he's like getting the pants taken. It's just something about that was just so hilarious, and it was so funny. I started busting out laughing when I was watching. I was like, that's so hilarious, because it's just like just someone level in force, just taking off pants. He's just. I was like, that's hilarious. It's just so well animated too, because it reminded me of like something out of the way it was animated. At least it reminded me of something out of like Robot Chicken. Like later on, there's like there's something kind of very slapsticky, but also it's just cartoony, but also it just flowed really well. I don't know, just the way, and it just helped out with that joke so much too at the end.
That was definitely, it was hard to animate that, because it's something that you have no reference for how to animate. You know, like pants coming to life and tugging on the guy and making it look like that's actually what's happening, rather than, you know, it would be very easy to make it look like a mess, like what is even happening here? So I was just sort of figuring out on the fly, like, how can I actually make this look like what it's supposed to be, what's supposed to be happening.
Sometimes it's things like that though, where like you get the best results, like just make it up on the fly.
And we were talking about animating on tiles, animating walking on tiles, and I was going to mention that in my film, like, there's the part where the guy comes in the door near the start. I think that's the only shot I have walking on tiles, but it was all so carefully set up to hide his feet at all times. Like, you got the corner of the table hiding his feet on the steps, and then because this is 2:39:1 aspect ratio, so it cuts off their feet really easily. You know, framing all the shots, like, I'm almost never showing anyone's feet. It was a really nice aspect ratio to work in, and I'm gonna have to use it again in future.
Yeah,
it makes it so much easier to cut off feet and hide tech.
As someone who has recently been making films for 2:39:1, I'm gonna have a hard time going back, because I just love it. It's great.
Yeah, speaking about aspect ratio, I love Cobalt and the 4:3, and then the fact that it changes aspect ratios for the two sort of like flashback sequences. I thought that was really good use of aspect ratio in your film.
Oh, thank you. I've been doing that. I'm a sucker for that. I've been doing it like for a little bit now. But I think I'm sure you all like feel the same way. But when you're like deciding on what aspect ratio to shoot your work film in, I'm sure that there's like when you do trial and error, then there's like that one that you really like, and you're like, okay, maybe I should do something different because I tried to do 4x3 too much but there's just something so pleasing about like the way it looks, and especially if you frame your subjects or your sets just right. And I know I've been trying to recently steer away from that too, like not too much, but just enough. Like because I was like, okay, I can like let me just like experiment with like a widescreen or just a something that's not 4x3. Um, but yeah, I've been doing that a lot recently. I love switching aspect ratios and stuff, but I know that it can be sometimes a gimmick. I feel from time to time. I mean, like Wes Anderson movies. I mean, not much of a gimmick there. I like the way he uses it and stuff. But that's the only person I can think of at the top of my head who like uses different aspect ratios in one movie.
I mean,
but
yeah, I'd say like he's probably an example of someone who people can see the aesthetics of his stuff very easily because it's very recognizable, and then they kind of emulate that. But there's like copycats, but like understanding why he does something is only something which like
the copycats don't have the same intentionality.
Yeah. It's like this is like my son's son, but not. Yeah.
I think also it was like I think there was something else too with like I think with using like I think choosing the aspect ratio too. I think there was it's also kind of hard when I was trying to like 'cause I did want to do widescreen at some point. I think when I was gonna do the like 1976 stuff, I think I was gonna do it in a widescreen. I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna do like I'll put like I'll be able to. I was like, I can do maybe like a 2 by 30, 39 or something like that. And I think when I looked at it, it just didn't have the same punch-in effect that I wanted, and it just felt so. I don't know. It just felt kind of to me. It just feel like I was just being kind of phony with it. And I was like, but I was like, okay, this doesn't work too well. But then when I do like a full screen, I was like, oh, it works like perfectly the like what I really wanted to like how I want to look. And it doesn't feel like it didn't feel too phony to me. But also I think I also like old brick films, and they basically the limitations obviously back then with like the DSLRs, the cameras they had. I think I remember I think what was his name? Twickabrick uses a lot of back in his original videos. They're all like 4x3, but it's such a classic sense to them. I don't know. It's like this. Like it just feels like
I think
like you're watching that.
4x3 is a really sort of satisfying aspect ratio generally, just because it's a classic kind of like square picture frame kind of aspect ratio, and I think like it's funny because obviously we kind of view things more in a widescreen with our eyes, but like there's just something really nice about the square, and it's great for like the portrait sort of like having a close-up profile shots and them kind of like just like taking over the entire space of a shot, and
it feels like it's more like high ceilings almost, like you're just like, okay, this is kind of going on for like
it I think the great thing about aspect ratios as well is that like it forces you to rethink your compositions in different ways. Like if you want something tall, 4:3 kind of works because you can really capture something in such a way where it's like you're kind of like emphasizing the height of something, and then I'll say like 2.39 to 1 is like if you want something to just be grand and wide,
Of course, Twickabrick were like the last holdouts using the QuickCam Pro 4000 many years after everyone else had upgraded their cameras. But then Twickabrick did upgrade the camera eventually, and I think Fuselage from BRAWL 2018, I think they were using a higher quality camera by then, but they still chose to do 4x3, and it has some standout shot compositions that make use of the 4x3 frame, especially the opening shot of that one.
That was I remember really liking that one. Yeah.
Well, I even like what you did with Quiet Extinction. That was just choosing that aspect ratio was beautiful because it reminded me of like almost like Cinescope, especially with the first shot. It's like wow, you're like oh my gosh, like it's such a it's like it's just like you said, it's just very much you get that kind of grand feeling when you're watching it, it kind of just feels like bigger. And then you just learning just now, like even like today, learning that like, oh yeah, like a good like 90% of that was actually practical, and it's like I actually like that many pieces were used. You're just like, wow, is it? I don't know, just like, it's such a nice feeling, like watching it and just knowing that.
Yeah, thanks. I tried to get every aspect of it to try and make it feel like it's a movie, because the concept of it, yeah, it's really hard to have it play out in Lego. So I tried to get like, yeah, the aspect ratio, choosing the skin-colored minifigures instead of the yellow comedic minifigures. So I tried to get every aspect to try and make it look as movie-esque as I could. So.
Nice. I do like how all the like 3 films of yours very much take their time with atmosphere and like, you know, building a sense of like quieter moments. We see it again as well, like not it's your film. Like I really like the shots near the beginning after the interrogation scene, where you've got like that focus pull, the rack focus on like the ladybird and the leaf, and like I like that kind of like, I don't even know if it was intentional or not, but the kind of like where it's kind of like imitating the kind of like focusing and then refocusing. That was really nice. Nice.
Yeah, I wanted it to especially feel like particularly small, like it was difficult to focus on, even though it was, you know, reasonably sized by comparison to minifigures.
Yeah, I agree. There's a great sense of pacing, and I love that like both like all the films. There's just a great sense of what was it? There's just so much time dedicated to just the small moments. And I like nothing's been like plot. It's been very much just, oh, like we can breathe here for a second, even if it's, you know, even if for like maybe like, you know, 5 or 10 seconds just to like get like an environment, or just like, or even when dialogue between characters, it's just like there's a lot of just great breathing room between it. You're not just, you know, going rapid speed just because there's an animation, but it's just, I just love that there's a sense of like with everybody's like here, it's just there's a sense of time, and there's a sense of just, oh, it's, you know, it's great editing.
Not to make this about a Victoria's success, but I was even thinking about that with my film. Just like I wanted to like have the first like couple seconds be like atmospheric and before it just goes hectic. And I think I like to imagine that I might have tricked someone into thinking this was going to be like a serious brick film.
That's good.
Yeah, with that crime scene opening shot at the diversion in the train tracks. This is another one of those examples where I made terrible decisions early on and then made up for it in the end. There's the overhead shot, and then there's the shot looking straight at them. The first one is like the main character, Charles, says like, how do they know a train's coming, etc. And then the next one, it's all highly circumstantial, nearly impossible. And then what's supposed to happen is that it was supposed to cut so that it's all highly circumstantial, it's nearly impossible, it's an ethical dilemma, and then we cut to the train station, and that was going to be like a, you know, a 3-act, well, not 3-act, but a 3-part joke. But then I felt like the scene flew by too fast, so then I animated the like atmosphere shots. Then that was 10 seconds long, and the other 2 shots were 10 seconds long. And so there wasn't enough time actually focusing on the scene because I'd done too much atmosphere. And so then I went back and added a shot where Charles says, let's talk to the train conductor. And, you know, I also wanted to set up that he was a train conductor because I didn't mention that in the script. And it worked, but yeah, it was another case of like, oh, let's add some atmosphere. Oh, now it's equal. This scene is equal parts atmosphere and dialogue. That is not good.
It's funny. It's really funny because I feel like your film has a really great sense of like, you know, serious, like actually, you know, making an actual, you know, genuinely good like sort of serious film in terms of like, you know, actually having a plot and a sense of atmosphere, but it's also really funny as well. Like, just as a concept, but I verbally like sort of burst out laughing at the reveal where he says like, I'm the misconductor. I thought that was yeah.
I'm glad that paid off. It's like, for me, it's like when you hear a dad joke that's really bad, but then you realize, but then it's another layer where I then realize I made that joke, and then I get even more disappointed. But yeah, it was when I was writing the script, I thought, who is the bad guy? Like, who's the bad guy has to be a joke. And so the obvious answer was like, it'll be like a philosopher or something. But I think Obstinarian posted a meme like the week before in the Discord that was like, no one is in danger. You are a professor in moral philosophy. Do you tie people to the train tracks to save your job? And I thought, A, a philosopher is too obvious, and B, it would seem like I took this idea from Obstinarian. And so I thought, well, the next obvious answer is a train conductor who's, his motivation is, as he says, well, if people are getting seem the safest place to be would be on the trains. But I thought, okay, there needs to be a joke here. I need a punchline. And I went, well, conducting is like the theme of like control, which is there something I can do with that? And then I looked up conduct, and just to make sure I had all of my definitions correct. And the first answer on Google is behavior, like a behavior in a workplace, or like just a person's general behavior. I went, oh, right, because misconduct. And then I thought, oh no. And then I wrote in, I am the misconductor. That was a joke I made.
I'm notorious for, we talk about like terrible dad jokes and realizing that you're the one that did it. I'm far beyond that point with my day-to-day life. I say so many terrible dad jokes that I can't be ashamed of it anymore. So, but
no, I feel the same way. I do. I do so many puns. There's so many bad puns too, and you just get the friends are just like, come on, why'd you? Because they know you sometimes you did a good pun too. Sometimes there'll be moments where you're like, that was a good pun, and they'll look at you and they'll be like, ugh. But then there's that you look at them and you're like, okay, that was kind of good, but I'm just gonna say ugh just for to say ugh because it was fun. But they know it was good.
You do it enough, and then you come up with a good one, and then your friends get annoyed because it's good.
Now we definitely gotta talk about the top 10. I think.
Yeah, we're getting late. It's like 11:30 for me and Sean at night. It's just we should probably talk about number 10. So 10th place, which is the Aloofness by Box Studios. This one was really interesting, like very kind of experimental, and one of those kind of films which could very easily you never know kind of like where it will place. I think a lot of people got really got like a happy reaction that it did place as high as it did.
I was really glad to see that the other people were happy to see this one was in the top 10.
Yeah. And it was
this ties into what we were talking about before with pacing. It had unbelievably good pacing and let you sit long enough with each of the shots. My favorite one, and I'm sure it's many others' favorites, is taking off of the jacket. I've never seen someone animate taking a jacket off in stop motion, and it's done so well. Like, I couldn't imagine it being done any other way.
So I just love the use of the fisheye lens too. Just like that. There was something like, I don't know, it's especially the color grading too. Just there was something about it, and the experimental nature of it really did help out like a lot with this, and just having also splicing it together with live action, but it's also in stop motion, which I thought was pretty always nifty.
Yeah,
I think this is one of the most films.
You go ahead.
You go. Oh, okay. I think this is one of those films that is a great example how much you can do with like knowing what you're doing and sort of planning things out ahead of time, and pacing and stuff, because at its core there isn't and heaps of animation, there isn't much set design really as far as time-consuming sets would take. It's just a lot of real, like, everything that is done is really considered and really well done, and I think that's that's something to be said about that.
The sound design as well adds to it.
The
It's more atmospheric, and like there were some comparisons made at points to Inland Empire and Skinamarink. I'm just
That's what it was. It reminded me of something. I was like, it's something I've seen. I was like, I don't know what it is.
I really enjoy I said pacing is great about this, and I think it holds on to certain shots and certain sections of the story in just the right amount of time, where it's not like, it's not meandering, it's not like veering too much on the we get it. It moves on. It knows when to move on, but it allows you to kind of be in that space. I very much enjoy the the playing around with the scale in a similar way to Toei Productions and Corbanzo films, like Live Rich Die Richer. The with the frying pan, and then also that recorder shot and stuff, like that kind of stuff. Really interesting way of doing it, where it's like actually larger scale than it would be in real life. I very much enjoyed that as well.
Basically, I'm always worried. You worry that some people might feel like, what the hell is this? I don't get it. When something like this, places high, but that didn't happen. And I was really happy to see people in the chat saying like, oh, I was really hoping this one might be able to get top 10.
Yeah. So
it was really good, and everything is like, everything, every part of this film deserves to be there. It earns its place in the film, and I think that's really, really beneficial, and makes the, I don't know, it all adds to an atmosphere that I just love in this film. It's something I'd like to see more of, really.
It's also just really nice to, it's nice to see like experimental brick films like that do get placed high, like you were saying. Like, it's really, really nice, because you do run into that whole like, oh, I don't understand this, so like it's weird, it's like it doesn't have a 3x structure or whatever, it doesn't follow certain rules, so sometimes people will disregard it. But I'm glad that like something like this that got placed so high. But like it's definitely something with like what you were saying, like there's a lot of intention behind it too, so it's not just random for the sake of random, I feel.
Of course, on Bricks of Motion, like sometimes we do see people complaining like, oh, you Bricks of Motion people, you just like artsy brick films, oh, your contest just won by artsy films. But it's like, you can't, the stuff is still judged. Like, it's not, nobody's looking at it and thinking, oh, it's different, it's weird, we'll just instantly place it. Like, it also has to work on some level to the judges and the viewers. It's not just weird and unusual just for the sake of it. Like, it still has to be enjoyable, and people still have to actually get something out of it. It can't just be abstract for no good reason.
Yeah, there needs to be some like noticeable intentionality in it. And I think generally speaking, you can tell when something has intention and when something doesn't. But yeah, I am sort of aware of like time, so we probably should move on to ninth place, which was Time Without You by Eric Tong. This was really good. I really enjoyed this one a lot. I was alluding it to I think this one, I think I mentioned it earlier, that like it's kind of one of those sort of stories where I feel like I've probably seen similar things done before in brick filming, but I think this is like a particularly good like portrayal of this kind of thing, and I think it was done really tastefully, and again, we could talk about the pacing, which is a kind of a running theme this year, and kind of like, and I don't want to derail, but I kind of like how usually we have like a running theme, like an unofficial theme. I kind of like the idea that the unofficial theme this year was just like good pacing. But no, I really like this one. I think it was a really tastefully done, and nice use of scale as well.
Oh, absolutely. With the brick built remote, it's a good use of scale there.
Cool.
It's to get the detail in it. Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite bits is the rain on the window. It's such a cool detail. I haven't done anything like that in my animation, and I'm dreading having to do it someday because it just looks so good in this film, and it's very brief, but it looks so good. Like the scale and the movement of it looks so good for the rain.
Yeah. I really like how, this film, it does have dialogue, but it's not exactly a dialogue-driven brick film. It's still mostly told visually. You have like the different time jumps and stuff. Like the visuals are driving it. Like I think a lot of the time with these sort of like more serious kind of story brick films, often what breaks it for us is if it's sort of overwrought dialogue and vocal performances done with Lego. It comes across a bit silly, but it doesn't in this because it's not going too far in that direction with it.
And also, like the dialogue that is there, it does sound kind of like it doesn't sound forced or fake. It kind of sounds like a genuine conversation two people could have, and like it sounds like sort of vignettes of someone's relationship, and not like oh, I love you so much, we should be together, like, I don't know, like there's definitely a way it could have been done that where like it wouldn't have worked out as well.
The presentation of it is also really nice too. And like along with that, I love when whenever you're going when he's traveling, basically just having everything kind of just basically be a time lapse, but around one person who's just very still. Just the way that's animated was really nice, and especially the insert shot of there's a very extreme close up insert shot where it just pushes the fast forward button. And just kind of I was like, that's pretty cool. But I was gonna say I agree too with the whole. It would be really easy to make it very melodramatic, and then you're just like, oh well, they're Legos. They're there's only so far I can take it.
I also like how the idea is that he finds a remote and it sort of rewinds back through their relationship, and that's a really sci-fi idea, and yet you don't notice that it's sort of out of place in this real world. It just meshes with the story really well. It feels really natural despite the fact that it's crazy that it's there, but it's even crazier that it just fits. And it's
and it's a good use of the contest theme, of course.
Yeah,
there's always a plus.
Yeah, remote control. Yeah, cool. Again, sort of thinking about timing. I think, should we head over to number 8?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, this is Spirited Shenanigans by A Brick History. This one,
another great opening shot.
yeah. There's quite a few films in this playlist that have very kind of grab your attention straight away with amazing opening shots. This one was really cool. Really amazing animation and just amazing set design. Yeah, really cool.
Not sure. In the opening shot, I don't know if it's a monitor background or if it's an printed image backdrop.
I think it's monitor because there's the time lapse ends later on, and I can't think of any other way to do it other than a monitor and have it step through the time lapse of the clouds, because it's really well done.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that has to be monitor. Yeah, later on, I see. I forgot about that.
I do know.
I'm just super at that church, or that kind of the second set that he's in, that little I guess it looks like a church, but that kind of area that the wizard's in, like that just looks so intricately well done, and just the lighting from the just the lighting that's coming in, that's pouring in. I was like, geez, that must have taken like quite a bit just to build.
Is it so Brick History has like entered quite a few like contests, right? Over the years.
We did Desert Requiem for BRAWL, which is really good.
Oh, nice.
Not 2022.
It was 2023, I think.
Oh yeah, 23. Yeah, I know. I was kind of thinking like, man, I hope Brick History keeps entering. So I was really happy to see this entry this year.
Because the kind of like I can't remember who it was that made Van Gogh versus Bob Ross, but
yeah,
lot of
Brick History.
It was Brick History. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I was gonna say like the kind of like fluid, very kind of playful, cartoony kind of animation reminded me a lot of what he did in that film. It's a very interesting style, and really kind of it's really fun to watch.
Yeah,
such great animation all throughout, like the transitions from one thing to the other and all the gradual in between frames of just everything, like the fire when it gets ignited and stuff. It's so cool. And this is one of the ones I had to step through frame by frame to sort of reveal how it was done, because there's masking, there's a lot of it, but there's moments where the camera's moving while there's masking, so there would have had to be still frames for the background for a lot of the shots where the camera's moving too. So it's even more complex visually, like with the visual effects, than most people think. It's really well done.
I just love stained glass in Brick films, and I love the use of the like turntable base with no turntable top on it, and the light behind it. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really like I love, like, the animation is incredible, and also, as you're saying, the like, you know, the in between bits, just like the flames light and stuff. Brick History has a really good knowledge of what, like, you know, what bricks to use between frames, how to transition an animation really nicely with all the like little particles or effects and stuff.
Yeah, that impresses me. I always feel like it would take me so much time, so much trial and error to choose the bricks to use as the transitional frames and for the waves and things. And especially also in the Bob Ross and Van Gogh film, but it's even crazier in that one, using the different types of bricks as like the paint splashes and everything, the whirlwinds and stuff. I couldn't imagine trying to approach that myself.
Definitely. Yeah,
how everything moves in it is really cool as well. Like the flags is something that I particularly noticed, like the way that the flags moved in the wind towards the end. It's just got character to it in the way that the pacing of it. It's just really, really well done.
Yeah, I do
unrolling the paper with the candle pieces and the tile.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
I do enjoy like, you know, when there's like a really impressive like short brick film where like you end up talking about it for like way longer than the actual length of the film.
The runtime, yeah. But I guess we should continue on.
Yeah, I did. This was very good. I did very much enjoy it. But yeah, should move on to number 7, which is First Day on the Job by Obscenarian. This one I thought it was really cute. It's just a really fun concept, and just really funny. I really enjoyed this one. Like I really love the robot design. It's like so cute. And yeah, it's just this little guy who's just like, he doesn't mean any of the stuff he's doing, but just everything he does, just
I think I love the way it's edited. Like I think there's one part that just made me just bust out laughing, and it was when he accidentally just like push a button, and just basically destroys the whole destroys everything. And I was like, oh my, like just the way that's timed out, it's so perfect. It just works so well, and I couldn't help but laugh. And I felt so bad for him too. 'Cause I was like, oh, he's not like you said, like he's not even. This is his first day. He's not even trying to be evil or anything. He just doesn't know.
Yeah. The story concept and again the use of the theme, those are really strong. So it was great to see this in the top 10 with strength in those areas and the sets of the robot. I think we do always love to see like brick built robot character entries, and Gold Brick Productions had a good one as well that was ranked a robot entry. It was a really good entry.
Yeah, I really like the single event effect. That was a really standout entry because the brick built characters, you're able to be so expressive with them, like the turns of the head and just it's really good. I particularly liked the blinks in this entry with like the square pieces over the headlight bricks. That was really cool. Yeah.
There's a cat at my door. I'm just going to be back. Sorry, it's there. He's scratching on my door. I'll be back.
Yeah, that happens to me as well. Whenever I'm on calls with people, I always have to say, "Wow, I've gotta go let the cat out. I've gotta go let the cat in."
Yeah, I the thing with cats is that like quite often they can't decide what they want to do. They'll insist on both.
Especially if they can hear you talking in a room and the door is closed and they have to get in.
Yeah, no, this was a really good entry.
I'm back. We're joined by cat.
Nice.
I've just
I was
changed.
gonna say you better show us your cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just quickly changed the scene on OBS so that we could see the cat.
He'll be with us for the rest of the podcast. But yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, brick films.
Yeah.
I really love seeing a brick built character, especially in a contest entry. And
it does feel like an extra level of effort, difficulty.
There's someone who did do like a couple of years ago did a robots sort of entry, a brick built entry. I do very much enjoy animating on like a slightly bigger scale, and it's really interesting how easily you can kind of just like give some character with some expression, even if they don't really have expressions. There's something about the kind of like using those pieces for the eyes and everything, like it just you just got something there like without even having to try. It just works.
There's something really innocent about him that I really like.
Yeah.
He's like, he just he looks like he's done nothing wrong. and then they blow up the city. But
yeah, it's like it's just there's so much expression in just like this in the design where it's just like, yeah, none of this is intentional, you know. I love the kind of like that shot as well, like where he's kind of like waves his arms in the air and he's like opens his mouth like jaw dropped, like yeah.
Yeah,
it's cool to see Bricks and Blocks Obscenarian rank highly. They've been doing a lot of stuff. They did I forget the name of it, but the one last year on the alien planet that placed 10th or 11th. That one was really cool to see. And it's cool to see that they're continuing to place highly.
Yeah, it is always nice to see people climbing over a couple of years. Like yourself, going from top 10 to first.
I suppose.
Right, we should probably move on to 6th place. We have Core Memory by Imaginator Productions.
I think I love the desert. I don't know why there's such as his sets are the sets in this one are so they're simplified, but they're not. It's not like it's simplified in a very tasteful way. It's very much it's just kind of it's minimalistic. There we go. It's minimalistic in its design, but and just it has that classic Lego feel to it. I think it might be because of using the yellow skinned like little minifigures maybe, but I don't know. There was something about it that like just and just it's just I feel like you can watch that and you can kind of get what's going on just visually. And there's nothing too complex or like kind of like a showing off or going over the top with a kind of a concept like that. I just really enjoy it. I was like, oh, this is just really it just seems so it's like small and contained and it's very minimalistic but very very nicely done.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially in the sci-fi lab sort of area, it's really cool how it's lit up from below at the end.
Yeah.
It's and a lot of the cinematography too, the top shots, like I like using them as well, and it works great when you have good production design, because in the top down shot where he's on the table tied down, it's like so symmetrical and it looks so good.
Let's get the match cuts in there too, with when he's like going through like his memories, and it's placed so intricately and so nicely. And I was like, oh man, like, that's really cool.
There's so many
underfloor lighting
techniques in
really is
this.
crazy. What was that?
Yeah,
Sorry.
there's so many techniques in this that I'm gonna take for my own stuff. Like, yeah, the underfloor lighting is incredible, and like this the road, how the road extends over the hills, like a forced perspective shot. That's really it's so clever. And
there's like the pillars I love too. They have like that reflection like that's on the actually like on the tile floor towards the end. Like I was like, oh man, that's cool.
I really like the I remember I think someone mentioned it maybe on the stream that there's like it's kind of reminiscent to Sully's musical world content entry last year, the Falling Out of Love, like in these like in the kind of aesthetics and like I think it's like kind of like, you know, having that kind of like big car on the road and the kind of color palette. But I really it's visually very striking. I really love the shot when, again, another great rack focus, where it's like, you know, you see like the road and it kind of has this kind of like windy kind of like look, and also I think in tone, like it definitely had a kind of feel of like an early Bricks in Motion film. Like I'm not gonna say brickfilms.com because I feel like it's sort of like it feels more kind of like I can imagine like an early BRAWL film done like this, but obviously not quite to this for these production values, but like it kind of actually kind of reminds me of like even like the very first winner in BRAWL 1 in like kind of, you know, someone being stuck in the middle of nowhere, kind of getting captured.
It has that kind of like it reminds me almost a little, if you're speaking like classic brick film, it reminds me a little bit of aesthetically at least of like Nathan Wells's like early stuff. It's I don't know, it's like maybe because of the color palette. The color palette just reminded me of like a lot of his early brick films. I think but also I think he did one for BRAWL. I forgot what it was. I think it was for BRAWL or another contest, and it was like it had to do with street ads or like highway
blinders.
Ads. Blinders. There. Yeah.
2014 first place. Yeah.
Yeah, reminded me of like had like that kind of.
Well, I think that one of the main reasons is probably because it's the same face. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's I have a feeling it's the same head.
You know, we were sort of talking about like at the very start we were talking about, you know, original brick films like not really getting a lot of views, but one thing I was just thinking about, you know, it is apparent that it has been influenced by Falling Out of Love, but that's kind of, it's nice to see that, because Falling in Love was the first place winner of the summer contest last year in Mixed Motion, and obviously it doesn't have a lot of views or anything, but it's nice to know that like something that is on that sort of high level, and it can have influence even if it doesn't have a lot of views. Like, it still has something to it that like people actually take note of, and it influences people more so than something that's more widely visible. They're not copying something that's more more visible. Like,
yeah, the people who do watch original Brick films take more out of it, I think.
100%. Yeah.
They might not be getting as many views as Lego Batman or Lego Spider-Man, but the views that they do get are, they stick with the people who watch them.
Yeah.
Well, I think that this is more of a direct thing, but I think that they do have, in terms of per percentage of people, quite often have more response and more like comments. Like, obviously they're not going to have more comments than like 300,000 viewed Brick film, but they're going to have like by population probably going to get more of a response, and probably rewatches as well, like people going back to them.
I am surprised to see in the BRAWL playlist entries with a couple hundred views, but then you scroll down and it feels like there's loads and loads and loads of comments. So that's nice to see.
And quite some sort of detailed comments as well.
Yeah. I think this is also a good example of, working with restrictions. As I was saying before, I just double checked, and Imaginator was, I think, editing this film in an airport. They were saying on the Discord, and so like, yeah, and that didn't stop them from placing sixth. You don't need to let a restriction, even like an airport going on vacation wherever they were going, didn't stop them from making a really good film.
Yeah.
Also, it's kind of nice too that I think when we talk about original Brick films and that don't get a lot of views, but it does speak to a lot of people. It's kind of nice to know. It's kind of nice to see when to use techniques, and then for some people that have seen that Brick film and stuff, they're like, oh, you used it. Like, oh, they're like, oh, did you use it from this? And they're like, oh yeah, I did. Like, I took this from this other one, and you're like, oh, it's like a nice little community kind of like little moment where you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. It's almost like an underground film that you're discovering.
You're in the know.
Yeah, this that's always quite nice to kind of have that sort of shared kind of thing. Yeah.
Going to continue on to fifth place.
Yes, definitely. So this one is the A Day Most Foul by Flannel Shirt Guy, fifth place. And as you know from my very enthusiastic cheering in the live streams, I was very happy that this got this placed highly. I had no doubt in my mind that it would, place, but once you got to like sixth place, and I was seeing the level of quality from coming up from that point, I was like, this better place, otherwise I don't know what I'm gonna think. So yeah, I was very happy to see this.
It's a good film. I love that it's like the most classic Brick film. Like, it's just has all the great qualities of just a classic Brick film put into a BRAWL entry, and it's got that high-end production value as well. But yeah, a lot of just how it's shot and the use of sound effects just take you back when you're watching it, and it adds to the comedy as well, and with the vocal performances and some of the jokes that are scattered throughout. It's really well made.
I think it's just like
a great sense of
it's just genuinely really funny, and it's really interesting because like when it comes to comedic Brick films, so much of it is in the delivery, the voice actors, and also just the timing, and if any of those are slightly off, it does affect the whole thing. And this is just so on point with just like and also the animation being very cartoony and very kind of like really adding to that as well. like I really love the gags of like the guy on the phone ordering the pizzas is just really funny, and the voice, and the voice acting is just really good as well. Like I really like the with the like the astronauts like later on in the like on the spaceship are really funny, and the like the crazy kind of like alien like minion things. Yeah, it's like a very also it's a relatively quite long film, but it like that time goes by very quickly.
Again, another one that doesn't feel long watching it. And yeah, it's definitely, as you said, the most classic brick film feeling one, the dialogue and the voice acting. And I spend so much time trying to make all my dialogue animation like super fine and subtle and everything, but then I watch something like this and I think it's really appealing to have the like fast and frantic dialogue animation. I really like it.
It has the runtime, and I mean obviously runtime does an inherently good film, but with the runtime it has time to have a reoccurring gag that has nothing to do with the plot, like the Pizza Johnny comes in at the start and then comes in at the end, and it's like it has some time to mess about with little details that are really, really fun. And I think that's the core of the film, is that it's just fun.
Fun.
It's a Lego film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much cool.
It's the most Lego-y one.
It's like, it's just, there's something about it as well I find really interesting. It's just like, you're talking about it being like, it's like a classic brick film feel, but it's not like, I could definitely imagine someone trying to do that, but making it kind of like, oh yeah, I'm making it like a classic brick film from 2015 or like 2011 or something, and it having like this sort of like rough around the edges kind of style. And this doesn't do that. Like it's a classic brick film in concept, but like it's so much better than like something that would have been done in that time, like in terms of like the standard of voice acting and just like the production values, and like like it's just audio mixing, I don't know, all that kind of stuff that's like
it would be easy for it to sort of lose you throughout the course of 8 minutes, but the voice performances are just so strong. Like every voice actor just keeps your attention, and
it's well written.
Yeah, that's true.
It also kind of seems like it definitely feels like there was enough communication with like the cast and animator, just to be like, this is what we're going for, this is the vibe, this is what this is what this line means. And that's like, as I was saying before, that's like such an important like element of that, of like making something work. There's so many situations where like this could have, if not done in the right way, could have ended up being like quite meandering and like, oh, this is just not as funny as they think it is. But like, it doesn't have that.
They're another one that's cool to see. Cool to see their films rising up the rankings, because I remember specifically, didn't they do it was like Thack last year, they did a 6-minute, was it a 6-minute like fantasy film or something?
It was a pirate film.
That was this year.
Oh, this year. Yeah.
Last year there was what was it called?
A
Hero's Journey. Yeah.
That fantasy one, yeah.
Yeah, and I really liked that one. And I forgot they also made this the one for Thack.
Yeah, I really liked the pirate one for Thack this year. It was really funny as well.
That one was really good. Yeah, I like how it's both these films have got very sort of like they go well together. They're very different, like in terms of like the story and everything, but like they've got I think if you like the one, you'll like the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
they were really
nailing
nice
the
and
style of these films.
yeah, fun style.
Yeah, I love the aliens, the like 2-frame aliens, and they scurry around so fast. Just really fun stuff.
It really reminded me actually of there's like those characters in Smiling Friends, I think it is. That like move, like run around and scream for like the meme world. That's yeah, yeah, this was really great. I really loved this one.
I'm happy to see this one. Yeah, top 5.
Definitely, yeah.
Nice.
I'm thinking just in terms of like time, and also we have talked quite in depth with the other films, so I'm assuming we'd be okay with just like skipping to Stanley's.
Not Stanley's. That's one we haven't mentioned at all.
No, I mean skipping to Stanley's.
Skipping two Stanley's.
Yeah, not skipping
I see what
Stanley's.
you mean.
But I will just quickly say, the Cobalt was really good.
Yes.
I did enjoy actually talking about that in depth, and that was a really good film. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations for coming forth.
But yeah.
So, no hard feelings, but we're skipping you.
yeah. If people were here just for the top 10 discussion, it does make it seem as though we're just like, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, on to third place, which is The Star Collector by Stanley Kubrick.
Such a film.
Yeah.
Love that one so much. That
And he's so consistent with the contest entries.
his like, and always his cinematography is always like jaw dropping every time. Like just his use of color and like composition and just everything is always, it's like it keeps getting better and better. But it has, and I also love the fact that every one of his has like this kind of retro feel to it, like but it's kind of a nice like modern take on it, so to speak. And I love the light painting he does, which has been like a recent development. It's been so cool to see. I think I chatted him about it because I was so curious, because just how he animated that, because he's using it in like during like sets, so you can see the set in the background. And I'm so curious. I was asking him like, how'd you do all, like, how are you doing all that? Because it's in camera apparently. So I was like, oh man, that's really impressive.
Yeah, the like long exposure, sort of wiggling the light in the frame during a long exposure. Yeah.
I think I laughed. I think I laughed also with when I think the star was. I think there was some. Oh, it was. I think he was asking him about the. What was the instrument that he used?
The trumpet.
The trumpet. He's just like, and the star's like, yeah, it's interesting. It's like just that pause.
And it's funny that it gets really dramatic, and then the star comes close and goes, "What's with the trumpet, by the way?" So good.
Yeah,
I just love that.
Kind of the kind of comedic side of the film kind of does come out of like it comes like sort of like a surprise. You're not kind of expecting it, are you? It's it's really funny. I've been playing quite a bit of Super Mario Galaxy, and this film made me think about it quite a lot, with the kind of like talking stars and just like the concept. I think it was. No, I was gonna say that you are right. That it is very like, it's a deep. It gets like very cerebral and deep throughout, like from the get-go, and you're just contemplating just existence and just what happens after. And I'm like, wow, I'm like, this is getting really. I'm like, I love it. Like this game, and then you get the like the small comedic element to it. Then it goes right back into, all right, now we're gonna get like all epic and dark fantasy and whatnot.
Yeah, and Stanley does have a really distinct style that he is the master of. And somebody in the chat was saying, when they were saying about this one, like, oh, this reminds me of that film from Tack, and then other people are like, oh yeah, Stanley made that one. That one Tack.
My favorite
Wait,
shot in this one is when the star whizzes past the camera, and because of how it's lit in camera, you get the trail of light follow along. It's such a cool shot, and so many of the sets, it's framed in such a way where you get the reflection from the lights and the fire and stuff on the floor, and it's framed so perfectly in such a way that like you catch that in a lot of the shots. So yeah, it's a really well made entry, and I like the in the background there's hexagonal bokeh effect, and it's such a unique effect, and it really works for this project. It looks so good.
Another great 4:3 entry.
Yeah.
Such deliberate framing.
Also, I
The
do want
minifigure
to.
design is really cool.
I do want to point out that earlier I did in fact say bouquet lighting when I meant bokeh. That you just maybe reminded me of that. And I don't hear it actually being said
A
very
weird
often.
word. Bokeh.
Yeah.
Bokeh.
It's like
don't know.
I used to think it was bouquet lighting because it's like even though it's not spelled that way, but just because it looks like a bouquet when it's like really out of focus. But no, yeah, bokeh is the actual, yeah.
I was gonna say, I also like the stars, like when it's like on you can see like the string on the stars. Is I don't know, like he used that and like think in his stack entry, and also continuing on with the Blacktron series. But I don't know, I just love the way that just feels so. It's like another kind of layer to the retro classic feel to it.
I like
it's
as
just
well. I like that, he's gone for like, a similar kind of thing, we're talking about like space and stars and everything, but it's gone from like the kind of sci-fi element of his other films to being like this sort of fantasy, like high fantasy kind of like interpretation and kind of like of that kind of thing. And that's quite interesting, like it's like aesthetically similar but like going for like a completely different genre. Essentially.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I might find the visible supports distracting if they had been like clear Lego bars, like really, bars that would look quite wide in a close shot in a brick film. But yeah, the fact that it's just like really hard to see, like thin string, it's really charming to actually be able to see the support.
Oh yeah, it didn't take it
charming
out
is
of
the
me
right
at all.
word to use. Yeah, because it's like puppets, like if like old Thunderbirds episodes and stuff. It makes it.
Yeah.
It's part of the film, and I like that. Yeah.
It kind of feels like definitely with Stanley's films, like there is this kind of element of they're not afraid to be what they are. Like they're very impressive technically, but there's always this other element there that's kind of like, this is trying to way of saying this without it sounding pretentious, but like, this is kind of at the end of it like a film like that's like
it's art made by an artist.
Yeah.
As pretentious as it sounds about a brick film, but like it is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean that's the thing with Stanley's work. I definitely kind of feel like obviously I feel this way about most brick filmers that we've been talking about today, but like Stanley is someone like I feel like people deserve to know, like just generally, like I really want more people to see like Shark and his stack entry, and like because I just think like it's not just something that like brick filmers would appreciate. It's just like I think people that's like interesting art would appreciate,
Animated short.
I concur.
Yeah, I did expect this to come third because in my mind I was thinking, all right, first is going to be between Dirtnot and Jacob here. But I wasn't sure which one it was going to be. So I didn't want to come to a conclusion in my own mind. I wanted to be surprised by the judging. I wanted to see which one the judges ended up with, so I could be like, oh, cool, that one won. But it was, in my mind, it was really close between first and second, so I was really interested to see what it was going to be. I feel like if everyone else is happy, I feel like just doing a quick bit about first. I mean, we have talked about them, but
Just straight off, but just before that, because I want to touch on what you were saying then. I feel like more than previous years, I really I made an effort to not think about it. Like, I was sort of thinking, like, there was so many films I really enjoyed, and I knew that whatever was going to win would be a really good film. But it was quite nice going into it really just not really thinking about it at all, and just being really surprised. That just sort of see what's going to happen with the results. It was actually nice. But yeah, you wanted to say maybe talk a little bit about the first.
I guess when it comes to I did hear a bit that some of the most active discussion among the judges was in regards to what's going to be the order of the top three. It was obviously pretty hard because they're all really good. I would imagine that what I think Nerdnot has the best use of the theme in the contest, and I just love the idea of using the trolley problem and the serial killer, combining those two things, but just all the ways you've tied control into that, and you were talking about misconduct and everything and how that ties into control. Yeah, just the concept of the film and the use of the theme, it all just comes together. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those sort of things where I was telling my coworkers at the office where I work that about just the concept behind this film, because it's just one of those things where it's just so funny to just be oh yeah, the trolley problem, yeah, so it's who is doing this?
Yeah, that's the title of the film, and it's my exact thought is oh, is it okay to pull the lever? It's hold on, who is tying people to train tracks?
Who said this?
I feel like they're the one who is liable for this death.
Yeah, how did you get to this situation?
Yeah, because that was the thing when I was doing a bit of research after I'd said, okay, I'm going to make a trolley problem joke. I was doing a bit of research, and I found that it had been criticized for how unrealistic it was, and I think I didn't have a chance to put it in in the actual film, but I put it in the description, just saying the trolley problem has been criticized for its unrealistic scenario. That is, until Charles Reference and Rose Potts, detectives for the Brokerage Police Department, discover a string of deaths in the shape of such a dilemma. It's it was just, it was hold on, you're not a criminal for pulling the lever, you're a criminal for tying people to train track. Why are we not focusing on this?
Yeah.
That was, I'm glad that it came through as,
Yeah, it's just great conceptually. And because I know with my own film, when at the start of the contest when the theme was announced, I had a couple of things in my mind of ideas that I was not going to do. I was thinking, what's everyone else going to do? I'm not going to do a film about a remote control, and I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. And one of the things I had was, I'm not going to do mind control. Then I just had such a hard time coming up with a good idea. Eventually I was okay, I am going to do mind control. It's the only idea I have that I have something to go with. So whatever, I'll just do mind control. But so I'm really impressed by just brilliant uses of the theme and brilliant story concepts.
I think it won't surprise you that I like the fact that you took a trope such as mind control and went, we don't use the MC word here. This is I don't think it's surprising that I made the trolley problem into a murder mystery likes the idea of taking an idea like that and just going hold on, how would this work? We're not going to use the word mind control. That sounds evil or ethically dubious.
Yeah.
I love that line.
Was amused by that wording, all right. But yeah, that was a bit of a meta joke. Okay, at least I'm not going to call it mind control. I'm not going to do a theme drop. I'm going to cut off the word control every time it's about to be said in the film. Yeah.
I'm so mad that I ended up with control in the script because I originally got rid of it, but I had to put it back because it sounded weird saying anything other than control group for people trying to understand like the science aspect of it. And then because it always jumps out at you when you watch an entry and it has the theme drop in it, and I go, oh.
I mean, I think it's a thing of like, you know, I didn't think about it when in the film. If you can subtly do it without.
Sometimes it is the wording that makes sense. Like
I mean,
sometimes it doesn't go bad.
At least you didn't go like control room, you know.
Yeah. I try to keep it subtle with the theme, like the control panel and the design of the hourglass computer. And one of my favorite things that I put in subtly, there's a close-up of the computer where he's typing on the keyboard, and the control key is colored in yellow. And I did that just for the theme, and I did it even probably no one was ever going to notice it. And it ended up looking really cool as well.
Yeah, it's always fun when you do something which is like, you notice it, and it's just like fun for you to see it.
Yeah, I
noticed you put the BRAWL logo on the check.
Yeah.
It was like a big
I'm glad you noticed that. Yeah, that she wins. Yeah, because I was trying to fill it up. Yeah, when I pulled it into Photoshop, I'm like, oh, so what's on a check? What do I put here? Like the name and the amount of money, and then what else? So I put the BRAWL logo on the check.
I like the color palette throughout your film. The way you use the white and yellow. It's not, the white and yellow isn't in there just to fulfill the mod element. Like the whole film has a sort of white and yellow motif running through it in the set design.
Even though I did do it to the mod element. I'm glad that it tied into the story, which was good, and it inspired a lot of it. But it also made it easy. I could carelessly shoot anywhere and not have to worry about how I'm going to fit the mod element in, because there's white and yellow in every part of the frame. So
it just looks nice and distinct and cohesive throughout, and also the whole film just has a nice grounded look. Like you were talking about, trying to make it look more real with the flesh color minifigures, and just the fact that it's like flesh tones and browns and whites and yellows. It's all very grounded.
I mean, when you were before you heard the theme and you had the start of the contest, were you thinking about the idea that you're going to have like flesh colored minifigures? The reason why I asked that question is because did you look at the color mod and think,
yeah. So that was a discussion that I had with myself early on, because I'm like, it would be so easy because they're wearing white lab coats, so just have the yellow minifigure. That's the mod element done, easy. So I made it a challenge on myself. I feel like it pays off. So I'm glad that I decided against using the yellow minifigure.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't even think of that, but usually yellow as a mod color makes it so easy.
I always try and stay away from that. I don't really know why, but I always try and stay away from making a minifigure the mod element. I feel like when I put a mod element in the set, I can say, okay, it's there. I know it's there. And then I sort of have to do that intentionally so I don't miss it. And going into this contest, I went, okay, I'm either going to do a sci-fi film or a crime sort of film. And then I was like, a sci-fi could be interesting with control. And then I looked at the mod element, and this guy's already been in a film, but he's just got his white and yellow, and it was just, I had to do that.
I think it's really, it was really funny. I got a comment on my film, and someone said "Where's the mod element?" And I was like, "It's literally the guy." Do you mean? It's it's this guy.
When I have it as the minifigure, it does make it easy to forget about the mod element entirely, and then I'll be halfway through a shot that doesn't have any minifigure in it, and suddenly I'll be like, oh no, where's the mod element? The main character isn't in this shot. Now there's no mod element.
Oh man, I ran into that so many times. So I was like, oh no, I got to put him in there on the side.
Oh yeah, I did actually have a question for you. Actually, no, I know we're kind of going from one to the other over and over again, zigzagging, but I did want to actually ask, because in the concept of your film, because obviously it's a very kind of comedic concept, just sort of the actual question, when you were first kind of coming up with the story, were you intending for it to be as like ambitious and like, you know, as an actual kind of serious as a story as it is when you were first doing it, or is that something which you were thinking about from the start? Like,
my goal was to make a complete film that I was happy with, and really, if that meant that the film was like fully finished, or if that meant that it was a 2-minute film, it wouldn't have mattered to me. But I feel these two characters as well, I've written in so many scripts, and they're just like, they never get finished, and I really wanted to finish a film with them in it, and I wanted it to feel just complete. Complete was the goal, not whether it was a 5-minute film or not, which definitely wasn't the intention going in. I think my microphone is cutting out, but like, oh yeah, I could do like 3 minutes. Anyway, had 4.5 minutes, and
yeah, I mean,
but yeah, I think, yeah,
it's always scary when, especially in a timed contest where you think you're making like a 3-minute film, you realize it's getting bigger and bigger. Even worse when you're making what you think is a 5-minute film and it ends up being like 8 minutes. That's not. Oh yeah, get the cat in shot.
yeah.
Yeah, switch the window again. We have a cat sighting.
Yeah, I had ideas previously of doing films with thought experiments. You know, like I'm still half tempted to do a Who Killed Schrodinger's Cat, or something, or like a, you know, Who Destroyed the Ship of Theseus. But the one that really stuck with me was a film in which the main character Charles goes to Hilbert's Infinite Hotel, which is one of my favorite thought experiments about like infinity, and comprehending infinity. But the idea would be that in a hotel with an infinite number of rooms, there is theoretically an infinite number of murders in that amount of rooms. But
now that you mention it, has anyone ever done a Ship of Theseus brick film? Because like it'd be a perfect concept for Lego pieces.
Yeah. It would be nice. But yeah, that might still happen. Murder at Hilbert's Hotel could be a thing that exists. I am writing a script, but
Good luck building the hotel.
yeah, it's going to be a similar style where it's not about Charles going to an infinite hotel. I'm currently planning that the villain is going to be building an infinite hotel and therefore requires infinite resources. And so it's going to be like I'm sort of planning on it being some like monstrous creature from another universe. But it's still like a small town detective agency, you know, and then plot twist, it's multiverse shifting being Hilbert who wants to build an infinite hotel.
I mean, Ship of Theseus, I could imagine being like some sort of like court case, like some kind of legal dispute over like, this is not what I was expecting it to be. This is not the ship that I, you know, ordered. And it's like, when did it stop being that ship?
Kind of thinking, it is getting late here, so do you think we should probably wrap this up?
I reckon so, yeah. I was going to say, that's like 3 hours into this now. And we're like, it's like half 12 for...
It always goes longer than expected for me to have to talk about the whole top 10.
yeah. No, but like...
I'm glad it was a long one. We covered a lot of topics and I thought it was really, really interesting. So yeah, thanks so much for having me on, and congratulations again to Nort and all the other entrants. Yeah, good year of BRAWL. So it's good.
Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah,
very good. Yeah. Yeah, no, this was a
Congratulations to everyone who placed, and especially to you both for placing second and fourth.
And
Like, yeah,
shout out Stanley as well.
yeah, and Stanley.
Yeah, it's great to talk with all of you. Great to have all of you on the podcast.
Yeah.
It was good to be.
It's good to have a podcast back. As we say pretty much every episode, but it was.
Well, yeah. If we change the format now to recording live and almost no editing and just uploading it, then hopefully we can get this back as a regular thing again. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, this was a great conversation. I really appreciate all you guys coming on, and yeah, no, I feel like we had a really good conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a good one.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Congrats.
Right.
Hopefully we'll see some people next year as well.
Right. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.